Where's my banger? We'll call the meeting to order of the Carroll County Commissioners with the agenda of June 27, 2018. Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I await a motion on the minutes from June 20th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes from June 20th. Is there any additions or changes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Please vote aye. Okay, is there any public input? Yes, sir. Please state your name and the town.
Glenn Cordelli, State Representative for Tufton Borough, Moulton Borough, and Sandwich. And I read in the Conway newspaper recently that the commissioners were not going to print the annual report. And I would like to point out to the commissioners that you might be in violation of the RSAs by not doing that. If you take a look at RSAs 30:1 and 2, there are certain printed copies required, and fines are possible if those copies are not made. So, I would have hoped that your staff would have pointed that out to you, but maybe you want to take a look at those RSAs.
Thank you very much. We have an awful lot. Can you just...
No, I think that we have a representative who brought something to our attention, and I would like the opportunity to clarify the misinformation that he's apparently been given.
Okay.
We are going to print the report. We have never said that we weren't. I don't know what was printed, I can't remember, but we are printing the report. What we haven't been able to do is print the report yet because of staffing issues. We have posted the report online, and we have authorized the printing of public notices that they're available online. We will be printing the reports. Again, we never have said that we wouldn't. We just haven't been able to yet because of staffing problems.
Is there any other public input? Okay, moving along with the agenda, the first line item is the Carroll County Land Committee update. Mr. Knox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of the committee, we welcome this opportunity to give the commissioners an update on our activities and where we are at this point in time. I want to make a few brief remarks as some of the things that we're presently looking at. And then I would like to turn the balance of the meeting over to Susan Gaudet, who chairs Trails Committee. And she's been working with Georgine Sullinger. And also Dale Drew, who basically has been doing a lot of activity with the Scouts.
Excuse me. Yeah. For our audience, would you please introduce the people so they can put a face with the name?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Dale Drew, who's on our committee, Susan Gaudet, Sandy Brocar, and Georgine Sullinger, and I'm Steve Knox.
Thank you.
Just some brief background here. As you know, one of the first things the committee did is we had 3 listening sessions. We felt it was important to get public input as to what they saw for the best uses of the property, the almost 900 acres that the county owns. And out of that came many, many ideas and options, as you can well imagine. And we kind of narrowed those down a little bit and took a good hard look at all of them. And what we ended up with as far as recognized that we needed to do a feasibility study on several areas. One was a agricultural learning center, and the other was finding how could we connect the agricultural property here at the county level with the farm community in the county. And what we also found very quickly is that very few funding agencies will fund feasibility studies. They'll fund projects that come out of feasibility studies, but they won't fund the feasibility study itself. What we learned a short while back is that the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority will fund feasibility studies, and so we're connecting with them to see if we can't get some money to do that. So that still is very much a work in progress. Don't have a definite answer yet. The other thing we're taking a look at is putting conservation easements on at least some of the property. At the listening session in Milton Borough, that was a hot topic, that they really wanted to explore that. And shortly after that, we had Tom Howe, who was with the Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, up to speak to us about that, some of the pros and cons. And we feel that we should, again, pursue that and gather more information. And what we have decided to do is to expand our committee temporarily to further discuss this. And we've invited Tom Howe to come back. He's probably, without a doubt, one of the most knowledgeable people in the state on conservation easements. We also invited Peter Pohl, who for 37 years was the Extension County Forester and probably knows the 900 acres better than anybody else, although Wendy is catching up. But he's got 37 years of experience. And we also would like to have Ken on this subcommittee. It probably isn't going to be more than 1 or 2 minutes. And the reason I'd like to have Ken on there is because Ken has some first-hand experience with the impact of what conservation easements do. And I think he brings a unique perspective to this that none of us have. And so I'm asking the commissioners if they would allow Ken to attend 1 or 2 of these meetings, I don't see it being longer than that, to give us that county perspective on what the county should be looking for before they seriously consider conservation easements. I think that's important. So that basically is where we are. And now, as I indicated earlier, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Susan Gaudet, who's done an incredible job on the Trails Network, and she can update you on that. And then Dale Drew has been charging around the county talking with scout groups about getting volunteerism involved, not only on the trails, but in the Blue Patch and so forth. And Georgine Selinger, who brings the horse community to this. So with that said, there may be some overlapping here. So anyway, go ahead.
There will definitely overlap.
Susan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it very brief. Just a quick update along the lines of the non-motorized trails. Dale and Will and I walked what I call the wellness trail that starts out behind the administration building about a month ago, I guess, right? About a month ago. And it involves 3 loops. If you walked the 3 loops, it would be a little over a mile. We walked the first 2 loops, and the trails are pretty much done. The worst part of it, I think, is actually the access from the parking lot. You can't even see that there's a trail there. Once you get into the woods, it opens up, and it's a little more noticeable. There are, I think, 3 areas where there's little low spots that need to have a little bridge built. We do have telephone poles that have been split, so they're flat on one side. We can create a little bridge, maybe a deck on top of that. There's some gravel that can be used. The 3rd trail has not been, I'm not sure if it's been marked or not. I know that Wendy Scribner has it GPSed, so we can walk through the woods and flag it if it's not, but that has not been cleared. As far as the handicapped access trail, I just found out from Ken that I thought these 2 trails were completely different trails. It turns out now that that first loop of what I call wellness trail, the employee wellness trail, was intended to be made handicapped accessible. That to me seems a little more of a challenge than I had thought that it was generally the handicapped access trail might be located down by the fire pond. That it would be right behind the nursing home, easily accessible, crushed stone, a little loop around the trail, maybe a couple of places to sit and watch birds, have a lunch or something, and then back to the nursing home. So I don't know, we might want to rethink that. But we do still have over $3,700 of the Primex grant, and Ken has indicated to me that there are no restrictions on it. And I wouldn't imagine that in the spirit of the gift that even if we did have 2 separate trails, that there wouldn't be an issue using those funds to make that other trail. I reached out to Olivia Saunders, who's a field specialist here in Carroll County. She organizes the master gardeners in this county, and although we don't have a lot of them, she's reached out to the group to see if somebody would be interested in helping us with native species planting on that trail. She's got one gentleman in mind in particular that has done a couple of these projects before. Haven't heard back yet. There is also another also with the Cooperative Extension, there's another program called the Natural Resource Stewards. They're another group of volunteers, and they also might be interested in this kind of a project. So if I don't hear from a master gardener, then I'll reach out to them and see if we can get somebody interested. So that's it. At this point, we do still need to get out. We need another probably meeting to talk about next steps for the larger trail network. That's going to be fairly extensive. I think we probably need to do a good inventory of what work needs to be done and so forth before we could even apply for any kind of a grant. If we were looking for a grant, we'd have to look at the project as a whole. So next step would be, walking the trails and inventorying the work required. As far as getting the work done, I'm going to defer to Dale with that. We've got some ideas. Amanda also mentioned a group. You didn't tell me who that volunteer group was, but...
From Kingswood.
Okay, yeah.
The
So,
egg.
good. So we've got some volunteers already that would be interested in helping, at least with the first 2 projects, and we'll go from there. I guess that's it for now on trails.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Dale?
My turn.
Your turn.
Hello again. Just to backtrack a few, when I was here 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, we had talked, and thankfully thanks to you guys, we're gonna do this to make sure you're aware of what we're doing. And at the end of the meeting, I had asked about the blueberry patch, if I went and got some facts and some figures and some actual data on some things, we could consider the committee's plan B as opposed to the plan after the blueberry patch was not leased, if we could still implement that if I came back and you guys would consider it. So in the meantime, I went and I reached out to Troop 150, which is the North Conway Scout Group. I had a little talk with them. There's 10 to 12 boys in that troop with 3, there's 1 head troop leader and 2 assistant troop leaders with 5 to 6 active parents involved. We talked about the blueberry patch and if they would be interested in coming down and doing some of the work needed on the patch. In return, they could pick blueberries, and after they come up with a plan of what the blueberries would be as a business plan, but some of the scouts are looking for Eagle badges and they would have to do this, so they would come up with a plan of what they wanted to do with the blueberries they picked. They seemed very interested, to the point where their troop leader has reached out to Troop 151 in Tamworth, 142 in Moultonborough, and 165 in Wolfboro, with 10 to 12 kids in those troops as well. And again, I'm not sure on the troop leaders, there's 1 troop leader per group, but 5 to 6 active parents in each of those troops. All very interested in what we're doing. To tie into Susan's thing, before I get into that, they would also be interested in volunteering to help do our trail system here.
Nice.
And in return for that, they would look for, I made them aware of the land, the almost 900 acres, the vast amount of wooded acre, and they inquired about camping on the property. And I said it would be dry camping probably, but they were very interested in that as well. Like a thing where they would come on a Friday, do some work, and then camp that night, or Friday and Saturday, and do work both days. A lot of coordination, but can be done. So to bring it back to the blueberries, kind of what we talked about was they would come down. Susan and I walked through the blueberry patch last week, and the first 4 rows looked like they've been pruned and mowed between the rows. And that's it down there, and then none of the bark mulch, the wood chips have been spread. So I called Ken and asked about legalities as far as kids under 18 using mowers and weed whackers and that stuff, and we'd have to figure that part out. Maybe the parents could do the mowing and they could spread out the wood chips around the bushes as far as work down there, and do some pruning with hand pruners and stuff like that. I don't know, that's stuff that Ken and I would have to talk about and figure out what they can and cannot do as far as equipment and shovels, if they're all shovels and hand pruners, or they can use a mower or weed whacker. We'll figure that out. But they would be very interested in doing that, and then keeping the blueberries they pick. And the tentative plan we have so far, and it's only been a week and a half, but we're working every day, is they want to pick, they want to preserve blueberries for future camping trips for themselves. They would like to sell blueberries to make money for their different troops, and they would also pick and donate to the nursing homes in Carroll County. Merriman House, this one here, Mineral Springs, and I believe there's one other one. The one in Wolfboro. The one in Wolfboro, the Genesis facility in Wolfboro. So yeah, they would donate to those as well. So with your blessing, I would love to go forward with this. We're picking probably third week in July, and we're trying to figure out if they can be dedicated for the whole picking season, which will be about a month. And we had our committee had a meeting Monday, and that point was brought up, if they would be committed, and feedback from most of the people so far is yes. It's gonna take some coordination. I mean, to the point where we've also gone out and gotten donations for blueberry containers from local businesses and other appurtenances needed to pick and maintain blueberries. And I've also reached out to Olivia Saunders. I tried to call her yesterday. I left her a message to maybe come down and give another talk to the boys about blueberries and how to take care of and growing and things like that, to try to make it a learning experience as well. So with your blessing, I would love to go ahead and put this plan into action, and I will keep the board updated, or the board through the committee updated as to business plans and happenings.
No, we're gonna go on to the next one, because I'm really interested in this part of this presentation. Are we gonna come back to it after everything, or do we?
No, I think if you have any questions or comments, you want to take them out.
Oh, yeah.
Regarding the blueberries, I think it's an excellent idea, if you can pull it all together. It serves a number of purposes all at once. The one that interests me the most is not the revenue the county might get from blueberries, but the experience that these troopers will have all the way through. And I guess my concern would be insurance liabilities, whether it's running equipment or not. I think we have to protect the county, or make sure the county is protected. So we'd have to have some documents in place to cover that. And I think we should be informed of who's in charge, who's the contact persons, and who are the adults involved with this. But I can see this being something, if we initiate it, could be ongoing. I also like the idea that they can camp on the property. I think that would be an incentive, but also good experience. So I'm inclined to be supportive of it, but I do think there's some logistical things that would have to be worked out.
Yeah, I agree. The contact person, when we had our committee meeting on Monday, I asked if I could see this through.
Yeah,
So I would be the contact person.
okay,
I will get the names of all troop leaders and insurance documents that you guys need. And anything, any rules as far as equipment and stuff, I will go through Ken and see what is okay and what is not. And I'm sure Ken will keep you updated onto that. And I would welcome anybody to come while we're there to just see what's going on.
Now, all these different troops, I think I counted 3 or 4.
Four.
4. All of those probably have their own insurance, but they belong to the New Hampshire Council.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe there's some
I think there's some overlap.
coverage there.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I can think of right now would be the logistics of insurance. We got to make sure we don't. And I think it would be good to have a safety plan of some sort. You know, what are the rules you're going to operate under.
And is that all stuff that I can go through Ken to get?
I don't know. We haven't made a decision. I'm just
Right,
giving my thoughts on it.
If it's,
Damon, you have a comment?
I think it's a great idea. My concern is the follow through. If you start it, we've got to finish it. We're going to give away county revenue in exchange for the efforts of the boys out here. I think the idea of camping here is a great idea. My memories growing up in Boy Scouts, that's one of the nicest times I had. Yeah, but following through, Dale, is as long as you do that, especially where it's the first year.
that's kind of why I wanted to be the point on this, so I could follow through from start to
I
finish.
think it's a great idea.
Yes.
I've found that with school programs, whether it's a sport or music or anything, that it's all about the leadership. It's all about the point person, the adult who is energized on this, and I know you are, Dave. It's obvious. What if, just to throw this out there for my colleagues, what if we ask Dale to bring back a proposal? I think we have enough time. I mean, tentatively, we can say yes, but we ought to probably get more details.
As proposal as far as.
You being the point person, you being, the contact person, and what write down what you're proposing. And
Okay.
instead of trying to figure out from the minutes what we're doing, we should have, a written proposal that we can work under. And I don't know, we're not meeting next week, I would surmise, because it's the 4th. So 2 weeks, does that give you enough time to?
As far as harvesting blueberries, I think it would, but as far as doing the work pre-harvest, as far as the cleaning and the pruning of the patch and the dispersing of the wood chips might be a little tight, because it's gonna take some time, and from what we've gathered, it's gonna be different days with different troops. So I'm spending a lot of time here on the property.
Yeah.
But, it's more than a weekend for these kids, especially if they're not using mechanical equipment, if they're just doing wheelbarrows, shovels, and rakes, to disperse 1,150 plants worth of wood chips.
So when do you need us to say go?
I'd like, if you could say go today with consideration of these things coming in place before anything happens on the property?
What about the insurance for that, Ken?
I will check into it, but, people are utilizing the property, as long as we don't charge, they're normally covered. I do have, though, spreading the chips before we put down the weed killer, I don't know if that's a good idea.
I was told at our meeting that we weren't gonna be putting down the weed killer this year.
Well, if we're putting down the chips, it's just gonna go, the grass is gonna come right through it. So I think maybe we might wanna, I'm not trying to throw a wrench in this, I think it's a great idea. I just think
If you wanna skip the chip, the dispersing of the chips for a year, that would make less work
Yeah, I
for
think
them.
that's what we should do, because if we're gonna throw down the sawdust and the grass is gonna go through it again, we have to do it again next year. It seems like a waste of resources.
I don't know, I almost think that the sawdust will keep the weeds down, but yes.
I think the person to be asking the questions on what we do with the blueberries is Olivia Sanders.
Yes.
I don't wanna, either one of you, maybe you're both experts on blueberries, but I don't believe it.
I wouldn't try to pretend I was.
So I would ask her what to do.
And she's familiar with our blueberry
Yep,
patch.
yep. And I already have a call into her, so when I speak to her hopefully today, I will have some answers. And I will just relay those answers to Ken.
All right, so can we, as the commissioners, agree that Dale can go ahead and follow Olivia's directions?
I'm working on a motion, I think.
Okay.
You can go ahead, it's gonna take me a minute.
So, Dale, is there any particular place where they're gonna be camping? Do you know of, or?
They do, one of their badges they have to get is compass work. And they would like to send someone out ahead of time to make a spot and then have the scouts find it and then they can clear
that's
said
cool.
spot for
Yeah.
camping. Is what they would like to do. Again, make it more learning and constructive rather than just here's your camping spot, set up your tent.
Well, and I think that needs to coordinate with the bigger picture of the trails.
Oh, without question.
Because if they're going to make a camping spot, it should be along a trail.
Right, it would make sense. And I did mention to them that the wooded property is so vast that they could probably camp here 3 times and make 3 different camping spots. And do that same activity with their compass and mapping 3 different times. And if we could, with Susan's help, and whoever else, we can coordinate where those trails would go and sort of lead them in that direction for the person who's gonna go put the flag in the woods.
I think that's wonderful. I just, kids in the woods and compasses and finding out where they're going and how to survive overnight is, I think that's part of growing up in New Hampshire. I really do.
And it was funny, I didn't realize that the scouts were this Troop 150 was as active as they were. When I went and talked to them, they were out at Crystal Lake in Eaton. And they have those little telephone poles around the public beach area. And they were just out, they were painting all those telephone poles white and having a cookout at the lake. And they don't get the recognition. And I think this would help them as well as us. And they do good things in the community and it goes unseen. And I think this would help them get some recognition as well and maybe help bolster the scouts further.
May I suggest that you contact the Girl Scouts in Wakefield?
Okay, I have put, we talked about that Monday, and I have put feelers out there to find the Girl Scout troops. And did you say there's one in Wakefield? Do you know of the contact person for that troop?
I do not.
Okay, I will
Do you know
look
they had a
into it.
moving up ceremony, because my neighbor's
Right.
granddaughters were involved.
Yeah, I have.
I can find out who the contact person is.
And again, the blueberry patch is so big, if people see this and belong to a nonprofit and would like to get involved in this, I think there's enough blueberries to go around. When we walk through the patch, it looks amazing. There's gonna be blueberries everywhere out there. So, anybody who wants to be involved as a 501c3, I think we could add to the picture, hopefully. Because the more the merrier, in my book.
How are we doing?
Getting there.
Madam Chair?
He's writing a book.
Well, Mark is writing that. We do have one other presentation that I'd like to make, and I realize that time is becoming a factor. But Georgine Sandra, who is not on that committee, but has been very actively involved in the trails, represents the equestrian community in the county, and she has put forward some very interesting ideas as well that I think the commissioner should hear of. And Ken's looking at his watch, and I understand that. But Georgine, if you could just kind of a
What do we
brief
have,
overview.
what do we have, Ken, tell me?
You get about 7 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Georgine Sellinger. I live in Wolfboro. I've been a horse person for a long time. We won't go how long. I have several horses. I run a boarding lesson farm, very minor kind of place in Wolfboro. And I heard about the listening sessions, and I said, oh, I think I'll go check in because I'm an avid trail rider. And I came and I got a little more excited, and Susan and Dale kind of drew me in, and I said, okay, fine, I'll go and do some work for you. So, in the process of doing work, I found the 19 boarding stables that are here in Carroll County that have between 20 and 30 horses on their properties. And I said, how should we find out about this? So I made a little demographic study. Who lives here, who wants to do horses, who wants trails, what are your trail interests? So I created those 2 studies. I gave them to Susan. She has all that information with her. And then I continued my work and said, okay, I'm looking at some other economic pieces to the trail system that they've talked about. And I'm looking at mom and pop industries that could benefit from this, and some other economic pieces that would fall in with the trail system. Then on a larger scale, I introduced Susan and Dale to the overnight camping and the day use that trail riders and horse people love to have at their fingertips. And our fingertips now are not too good in Carroll County because we have to go far. But if a trail system is created here, the multi-use trail system is created, the equine community in Carroll County would have a trail system here that's safe and governed, and people that are riders would feel more secure and they'd want to be part of the program. They'd want to be part of clearing and part of the overall picture of it. And I said, what else could we do? And we talked about building things on a concession basis that maybe the Carroll County could benefit from, stables or stalls or some kind of a day use program that would benefit everyone here. So that's what I've got so far for the committee and some other ideas I've given them. I'd also said I'm a member of New Hampshire Horse Council. There's a group within the Horse Council that is developing this kind of a trail system up north. But once again, it's 3 hours away with a horse trailer. Carroll County would be so much closer for the 19 businesses that flourish here and look for another place or an enhancement to their business. So that's what I'm here for, and I try to make the horse community I'm trying to be a liaison between them with what Dale or Susan need for the trail system. If you've got a question, I can answer it, maybe.
Georgine, I have a question or maybe a clarification.
Sure.
These 19 boarding
Yes.
stables, we would not be in competition with them.
No, and that's something I brought every time I open a conversation. I always say, the 19 boarding stables are making a living, they're Carroll County residents, and they're making a living at this. But each one of these stables has a discipline that they're very strong about. There's lots of disciplines within the horse world. There's dressage, there's hunters and jumpers, and cowboy-mounted shooting, cowboy-mounted archery, and those stables concentrate on those skills. But every now and then, like every devoted sports person, you want to step out of your focus and give yourself a day off, give yourself some pleasure out on the trail, or take you and your animal out and have something different to do. There are also barns that are total trail barns that look for different trails and different situations, challenge their horse, because we have trail and versatility competitions, and you want to go different places to expose your horse to that. So that is a strong point I say every time. I do not want to get into competition with any of our business people, but I do want to enhance and enrich their programs by offering trails where their customers could come, their clients can come and use a different facility. So that is, yeah, I'm very strong about that.
And overnighting or camping.
Right. An overnight camping would also draw the people that, in Salem, you've got a horse down in Salem, you don't have a trail system, you come up to Carroll County, you overnight, you spend a day riding, you camp overnight, you have a nice dinner, and you go back riding the next day. I've often mentioned that the Wagon Wheel facility in Raleigh, Massachusetts does that. Memory Lane is a facility in New Hampshire that you rent an apartment. Acadia National Park has that overnight system. Green Mountain in Vermont has that kind of a system where you come with your horse, you stay overnight, you use the facility, and you go back to your focus barn. So I'm trying to point out that this would be a real plus, a real bonus to horse people, to have a trail system where you could go. And I'm saying safe and governed because I know several people who go out local trails, but it's not governed. It's not a trail system that's marked and safe for people. And I'm finding out the little demographic that I did, there are a lot more mature people that want to trail ride now. They have their horses and they've invested in them. And they want someplace where the trails are marked and they feel safe and they're not going to go out and get lost or go out and have people accost them in the woods or whatever. And that would be a real plus and a real safety factor. So, and those are the things I've talked to the committee about for today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you very much. I think I kept within 7. How'd I do?
You did. Perfect. 6 minutes.
I think it's a great idea to have this opportunity. It's a good use of the land, and again, I think we have to look at the logistics as far as insurances,
Yeah.
indemnification, all those nuisance things that we have to be sure of.
Georgine was kind of pressed for time here, but some of the discussion we've had, I mean, the possibilities here of what this could potentially grow into is just incredible. As she mentioned, there's kind of a vacuum here, and the county could possibly, the county lands could possibly fill a lot of that vacuum. And this, in the years ahead, this could grow into something that could really be very dramatic.
I think it's a great idea. Any way we can encourage the public to use this land is to all of our benefit.
Yep, exactly.
I actually think that this idea is right up there is one of the better ones that I've heard so far.
Right now I'm researching United States Forestry Service, designing horse trails and the treads and the clearances. So it's an equestrian design guidebook. So now I'm doing the research there that the 900 acres could, for a horse person, a 900-acre parcel can also almost become a 1,200 parcel because of the loops and the spurs that you can create on that trail system.
Why don't we have the potential here of horse trails and ski-mobile trails being one and the same?
I think sometimes we get into competition with one another, and I think one thing would frighten the other. I think summertime and fall usage, I think it should be a non-motorized. In the wintertime, maybe you'd want to make it a cross-country skiing venue more than putting a motorized on it. And that's what I'm referring to when I say safe and governed. I think if you govern that kind of thing and keep the motors off it, I've seen motorized people do naughty things to the land, and I speak from personal experience. I've seen things rutted and gutted. That's not necessary. Not necessary.
I'd go the other way. I have a lot of land, and I let the ski-mobilers use it, and they're the best stewards of the land that I know.
But you see, you're a landowner.
You're
a landowner. Yeah, as a landowner, you have that privilege, and you can govern them. The trails I use are fire roads out beyond Winnipesaukee Golf Course, and it's just been not a pretty sight of what they've done out there.
Thank you.
Oh, and the other thing I do have to mention, the people that do cross-country running, they just lost a huge parcel of that Muddy Moose trail system. The land was just sold. And so I'm thinking of the 5K possibilities of the people who want to run 5Ks. They're going to be looking for places to have their races and their benefit events. Because Muddy Moose just lost a huge parcel. Just saw the sign go down.
Cross-country is a big
Cross-country
racing
skiing,
and
right.
ski and foot racing.
Right,
It's a
right.
big thing. Yes, they read something.
Not this time.
Have you got this?
I
one?
do.
Okay.
I do, if you like me to offer it. I apologize if it's fragmented. I do the best I can here. I think the intent is here, so everyone, if this is accepted, be a little bit focused on the intent, not necessarily the letter of the words. But Madam Chairman, I would make a motion that we appoint Dale Drew as the Boy Scout Blueberry Coordinator for 2018. And further authorize Mr. Drew to work with the Boy Scouts to coordinate the harvesting of blueberries and to grant permission for those scouts who work in the blueberry fields to have access to county land for the purpose of a 3-day camping expedition, and further authorize the county administrator to develop necessary logistics regarding insurance, safety, and reporting scheduling provisions. It does the end of it.
Yeah. Mark, would you consider taking out the 3 days?
Well, the reason I put it in that way, Commissioner, is to reread it again, grant permission for those scouts who work in the blueberry fields. In other words, I'm looking at it to be a reward. If you didn't work in the blueberry fields, then you're not a scout who worked in it, so it is not accessible. It's kind of like an incentive. Because having been a scout, I know how much camping means to scouting. I put in 3 days because I was thinking Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but you know, that's
Take it out, I'll second it for
to have access to the county land for the purpose of
camping while they're doing blueberry work or something.
Or trail work.
how about we purpose of a camping expedition?
Okay, fine.
We just do whatever days you want, I guess.
But if they're doing trail work, they can camp also.
I'm focusing on blueberries right now. Yeah.
Mark mentioned specifically Boy Scouts, and we're going to be contacting Girl Scouts as well. Would you have any objection to including Girl Scouts with
Just
that?
say
I thought
Scouts.
Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts were the same nowadays,
Yeah.
but
Well,
no, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
Can we
yeah.
just say scouts?
It's scouting,
just say
yeah.
Scouts, yeah.
Scouts.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, so to print the scouts, to coordinate and to give permission for those scouts
Yes.
who work in the blueberry fields to have access. So, okay, I took the boys part out, scouts. Okay. And then the other part I don't want you to miss is you gotta work with him.
On it.
He's the boss, you're the
Yep.
coordinator.
Got it.
And
And
so as a coordinator, it's to authorize you to work with the scouts to coordinate the harvesting of the berries. There's nothing, no mention here of fertilizer or the weeds or any of that stuff.
But it's understood that Olivia Saunders is going to be the expert in this field.
I think that's the part I want everyone to understand. There's some understanding here, and that's what Ken will be working to ensure that we have.
Question. If Olivia's not able to do this,
Work it out with him.
okay, got it.
You don't need us over,
Perfect.
you only need
I'm
us
okay,
overseeing, you don't need us developing it.
I'm with you 100%.
So it's, for you, it's sink or swim.
I got it.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
He's the blueberry king.
Do I get a plaque that says blueberry?
Did you get a
Wait,
part
wait,
of
You be careful, it may be a piece of granite.
wait until you're done.
Yeah.
Another season.
That comes
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to have a blueberry coordinator with the scouts.
Blueberry,
Boy Scout Blueberry, oh wait.
I like that one better.
Yeah, you gotta take out Scout Blueberry Coordinator for 2018.
There you go,
You've got
perfect, good.
one season.
One season.
1 year to make it.
On
All right,
probation.
all those in
Be the
favor
first
say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. All right, I'd also like to, I
Sure,
think,
I got it.
speak for the commissioners in saying that the ideas that have been brought forth today we encourage the people to continue
Yes.
to study and find and come back and report to us their progress. And Susan, I think you're all set to start work on the trails anywhere and however, and coordinate that with Ken and the money. Yes.
May I tell Susan something?
Sure.
Susan, back when we started this health path, John Roberts from Tamworth volunteered to do the dirt work if he was asked.
Okay,
I don't believe anybody's contacted.
thank you.
I hope
Well,
his memory's good.
we'll find out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Yes,
Madam
sir.
Chair, the committee thanks the commissioners for their ongoing support and an opportunity to update you as to where we are at this point in time.
Well, I think on behalf of the commissioners and a member of the committee that I think this work is incredible. I am so impressed with the fact that the lands are actually going to be used by the people in Carroll County. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to personally thank Steve for staying with it. This has been a hard job, and any number of reasons would be acceptable for quitting, but you haven't.
He's tried.
And,
It's,
but you staying with it means a lot to the progress that we've made.
It's an outstanding committee, Mark, and the credit belongs to them.
Well, like I say, leadership gets things done, so thank you.
Sandra, do you have any comments before we get thrown out?
No, not
Okay.
at this point.
Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for staying within the time limit almost.
Almost.
Almost. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is the propane. Is that right? Propane people? I believe they are, yes, they've been waiting patiently.
Maybe you should just suggest that the commissioner maybe just go.
Okay,
Good morning.
good morning.
Good morning. I have,
Bob, would you introduce, yes, I was
yes,
just
I
going to
have
say.
Russ Howard and Bob LaFave from Eastern Propane.
How do you do?
Bob LaFave is the account coordinator, and Russ Howard is our, he's,
Operations
yeah.
guy.
When we have a problem, he's the one who I call. So we're here to discuss, where do we go with our propane contract now? And I don't have anything to start the conversation, so.
So you had a current contract in place through September for 275,000 gallons. Because of the winter we just went through, your consumption was a little greater than they have been in the past. And that contract now is expired based on gallons and not the fee. So we're here today to sit before you to ask what direction you would like to go. Eastern is more than willing to happy to extend the service to you. And we could do that on a load-to-load basis, or we could enter into another, I think we agreed on like a 15-month agreement from pretty much July 1st through July 1st, 18 through September of 19. And we can fix those gallons.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you want us to ask questions as we go along here, or
Absolutely.
you want to
Absolutely.
start your presentation and
Absolutely.
finish
And the
it
reason
up?
we're here today is because Bob reached out to us because he saw that the contract had expired and wanted to know which direction really to head. So we have a couple different options for you that we could present today.
One thing I gotta have clarified.
Sure.
We had a contract that ended on one of two events. Either we exceed 275 or September 1st comes.
Yeah, September 30th.
Right, so your position is that it has expired,
On gallons.
but the contract has expired.
The contract has expired.
Okay, so at this point, there is no contract to extend.
Exactly, with Eastern Propane. So
Okay.
we're here today to offer a new contract or to offer something that's acceptable to the commission and to the county.
Yes, David?
So are you charging us the continued contract price, or have you
No.
jacked it up?
No, we're actually at market.
Which is what?
That's gone up with 6 cents
So
over what our fixed price
dollar,
was.
11?
It was $1.12 last week.
$1.12 versus
Half the load.
Yeah, because you split the load between the gallons, so we came right out at 275. So there's roughly 4,000 thereabouts at the $1.07, and the remaining gallons went to $1.12.
Okay, now, I want you to know that I was very upset to find that we had been given no notice that this was going to happen. And secondly, that you immediately went to the higher price without any notification. That's one of the reasons you're here.
Well,
But, yes, sir.
so, like you just said, we did get 3,000 at the at the 107. And once we went over the 275, then it went up to the gate price.
It was the split load.
Right.
So we haven't delivered a full load since that happened.
Right.
Because you still had a contract in place, and technically, you're right, we didn't realize at that point when the order was placed, that it would expire the contract at that point. So part of the load was a partial load, and I understand your frustration, and that's why we're here today. Because you are due a load tomorrow. We can cancel that load, but your tank is down into a percentage that typically we would replenish that.
What do you normally deliver in a load?
Anywhere between 9,000 and 10,000 gallons.
David, you had a question?
Yes.
That's it.
Russ, I think this reflects, in my estimation, somewhat poorly on your company. We've got your tank out here. We've canceled we've gone out on a non-bid contract to give it to you. Yes, you bet the best price. But to arbitrarily jack up for 3,000 gallons out of 275, in my estimation, is pretty cheap. Or not
A slap in the
do
face.
business.
Well, if I can elaborate to.
And I understand you're perfectly within your rights to do it.
Yes. And
But I'm in business, and, I'd think twice before somebody, if I had a customer that was as good as we are and paying our bills on time,
understand.
I certainly would have cut them some mustard.
Understand. And that is something that I can go back and look at and understand if I can just back up a little bit. The system, the operating system that we use currently, we have 80 to 90,000 customers. And so when we enter a contract into the system, it becomes self-sufficient at that point. And it wasn't even until after the load had been processed through that it came to somebody's attention. So it's not that we have somebody actually scrutinizing and looking at all of these, but I can definitely go back and look at that and make it right. We can make it right for you.
I hope you do. Obviously, the second message doesn't come back to the people that we just snookered our good customer. And so now you better do it verbally and go back and do it. I hope you do it.
Well, but that was not our intentions, and our apologies if that, and that did happen. But as you say, it's a system, and I don't want to blame it on the system because it's really Eastern. It's a system that Eastern chose to use, but the contracts go through a process, and that's what happened, and it came to light after that.
Please take a look at it.
I will definitely do that.
Mark, you had something?
I think we did some calculations last week on what the overcharge, or the delta was, and it was like $145, $175. I can't remember exactly.
Sure.
So it's not a big number.
Sure.
And I can certainly appreciate that. There's a contract, and we certainly expect adherence, and I have no complaint that you didn't adhere to it. I think the matter of how you monitor when you come to a limit you know, it's an in-house thing, but I don't see any intent here to try to squeeze another $150 out. So, you know, it's good that you're doing that, but I don't think an apology is in order. I think you have done what you said you would do, and we have received what we thought we would receive. I do, though agree with Commissioner Babs, and a good faith effort would be for you to look at that.
We will make it.
You know, on this one. My concern right now is we do a delivery, and I'm not sure what price we want to be paying. You know, how many gallons do we do tomorrow?
Between 9 and 10,000.
9 and 10,000. What's the capacity? What's this hold?
That's a 30,000 gallon tank out there. We fill them to 85%, so roughly 27,000.
Okay, so we don't have to take delivery
You do
tomorrow
not.
if we need to have some time to figure out
Absolutely.
how much we want to pay. I mean, it's not your fault that prices are up, but we have to make sure that we're getting the best
Absolutely.
price available. And I don't think, you know, the price that we would be charged tomorrow if we took delivery would really be the best price that we can expect going forward. I don't know that, but, you know, we haven't received any pricing, and
I would care to say if you took this on a spot basis, that you would pay less than what you would be paying on a contract. Because you're consuming winter gallons into these. This is summer gallons. Summer gallons historically are much cheaper than they are the winter gallons.
so what's your advice?
My advice
Yeah.
would be to take this load tomorrow.
At $1.12.
No, I'm not looking at this advice because you have a sale. The advice for what's the best purchase price for us.
What's the best purchase price?
Based on what you're proposing that you deliver tomorrow, is that the best price we can get if we were to ask around?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say, if you asked around, no, you're gonna have some lowballers. You're gonna have some, you're gonna have some companies that are actually will try to win the account over, absolutely. Am I sitting here saying today that Eastern offers the lowest price? I can't say that.
Yeah.
But we're not the highest, but we're not the lowest. We're in the middle, so.
Well, you see, we're in a problem here because Bob says,
Okay,
and I have utmost faith in Bob,
okay.
that your service
Uh-huh.
is exceptional.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is of great value, his feelings. But there's a piece of me that says I have a responsibility
Sure,
to the taxpayers in this county,
absolutely.
and that is to find the best price possible. Now, sometimes the best price isn't the best deal. I understand that. This little snooker made me very just ticked off. But anyways, going forward, you said that you had talked to Bob about something for 2019.
We didn't come to any agreement.
No,
We
just talked.
were just floating some numbers arbitrarily, and I said I can't make that decision, so.
So
That's when
the
I
problem
decided
we
to
have
agree.
here is if we get a number now, then we can't go out to bid, is that right?
No.
And if we,
We can go out and bid anytime.
Yeah, we don't have a contract, so we have options here. The thing is part of the option would be, what do we do with the tank if it isn't Easton?
well, I'm not worried, I hate that great big tank, that
Well,
is,
I mean, it's-
that's a lot of problems with that, but that's beside the point. The thing
Yeah,
is
put
what
something.
what they need to do is convince us today that they're the best deal for us in the next 18 months, is
I
that
don't think
right?
that's fair. I don't think that's a fair question to have them do, to try to convince us that they're the best. We have to take a more, I don't know, more professional look at that than just ask them, are you the best? You know, convince us that you're the best. I don't want to do that.
Well, no, their price was what I was talking about.
Yeah, but you can't even do that today. We have to find out what is the best path forward for us, whether it's with Easton or wherever it is. I'm satisfied with Easton's service, and I'm satisfied that they fulfill the terms of their contract. I don't think the $145 is, whatever the amount is any more than just a mistake. I don't think it was any planned thing to try to snooker us. I think the approach we should take is what is the best for the county going forward. And, you know, I'm not sure which way to go. Do we put this out to bid or do we negotiate? You know, those are the type of things. But I want it clear, I have no dissatisfaction whatsoever with Eastern Propane and the services that they have provided to us.
David?
I've been around here now 5 years on this board, another 5 years of sitting there in the public. And the only thing I can say is Easton's service has been beyond anybody's expectations. It's been fabulous. And to get the low price that we've had in the past, maybe I'm just naive. I would hope that we could reduce the price to the fact in the area that we can afford it and sell it to the delegation, because we have pellets if we have to burn them.
Sure.
But you folks made it, well, the industry made it so attractive to burn propane that we did that. We don't have to make a decision today, Madam Chairman. We've got time. We can go out to bid. We can go with one bid from these folks. We can negotiate. We can do a half a dozen things. We don't have to do it right now. We're not going to run out of propane. And I would hope that we'd have an opportunity where they've been such a good supplier to sit down and talk with them and see if we can't come up with a price that works for both of us.
Well, I thought the price we had worked.
Excellent.
But yes.
Well, yeah, but they take quite a risk when they go out 18 months on price, because that's a volatile market, you know. So we were very fortunate to have that price that we had, and it was good for us. It was good for the taxpayers.
And it went down.
And it went down, and so we're looking all right. We haven't crossed any barrier of ineptitude here. What we need to do is, today, I think, is to consider, do we need to top off? And that would be based on, is there an expectation that price is going to go up? And that's what I want to hear. Is there's an expectation that prices will go up?
You signed your contract back in April of 17, and since those prices were in effect, crude oil, and we're a byproduct of crude oil, has gone up 33% in that time frame. Propane has gone up roughly 22% in that same period of time. And I always like to use this analogy. If you pick out your favorite gas station, and when you go by your favorite gas station every day, see what the prices are doing. If those prices are going up, propane's going with it, because we're a byproduct of crude oil. We're not here if crude oil is not here. And so that same gallon that's being sold on the open market is what's really producing some of your propane.
But
So,
gas at Big Apple's been going down recently.
maybe a couple cents, a little bit, a couple cents. We saw an increase yesterday, just on the raw market yesterday, of 5 cents on the propane market yesterday. Crude oil was up. So that's what you're looking at. From April 17th, when you signed the contract, the oil was probably in the 40s. It was in the low 40s. And now it's in the mid-60s. Right? So there's a comparison there for you.
Sure.
You paid a relatively good rate at $1.07.
Yeah.
And so if you add the 30% or 25%, 22% to that number, that's going to give you a rough idea of where your propane's going.
So how much we pay for the fuel tomorrow? Do you know what that is?
That I do not have that information with me. But we can cancel that load, and we will. And we will make this right, believe me. And my apologies to the board.
I'm not sure that it's necessarily the best interest of the county to cancel the load tomorrow. You know, I'm thinking that it might be wise for us to top off and put it out to bid. We have to put it out to bid because of the amount, and I think that's doing our due diligence.
Oh, sure.
But at the same time, you know, we'll need time if we were to swap out. We need time to use that fuel up, I think. I don't know how it all works, but,
No, that's your fuel at that point, so.
but the tank is your tank.
Exactly.
And so if we find someone else,
You can do a transfer or.
you transfer to another tank?
Or if the company wants to just go right out and buy the tank outright from Eastern Propane, we can
Okay.
negotiate that. We've done that in the past
Okay.
as well, so.
Just for a piece of information, without saying what the actual gallon cost is, talk about what we talked about last week and what we talked about this morning and the delta.
So, because of our conversation, Bob and I's conversation last week, it put it on the radar that you may want a fixed contract. So I had quoted Bob a number. And because, and in between today and when we spoke last week, the market came down. So when the market came down a few cents, I went in and bought those gallons in anticipation. So the number that I gave Bob versus the number that I could give you today is down 2 cents from that because we don't purchase it. And I told Bob that in that conversation, I said, we can just absorb it into our business should you not take the contract. We can take it. It was a good buy. It was down. We felt like the market is not going to continue to go down. It's going to continue to go up. So we bought it. We're in a non-lose situation when we purchased those gallons. And to be honest with you, we purchased more than that for our own, to satisfy our own customers as well, plus a speculative move on the eastern spot. So we felt that was a good buy. So of that, we took a piece of that and set it aside for Carroll County.
Yes, Dave.
If it Russ, right?
Sure. Russ.
That's Russ.
Yeah, Bob.
Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, refresh my memory, why did we contract for 18 months? We did it in March or April of 17 and
I believe the same
September.
situation.
I can't remember why we did it.
I wasn't here the last time. It was the person that I worked for, Dennis Gagne, was here. And I believe it was the
Yes,
same.
it was Dennis Gagne.
Yeah, I believe it was the same situation, that your contract had expired out, that there were no more gallons remaining, and therefore, my take is, the same situation happened, we were called in because the contract ran out, you had no more gallons, therefore, you were on the spot market, so.
Well, what does Easton recommend that we come back in and go out for a year's contract, or, I mean,
Well,
18
in the
months
past-
seems to be a strange.
It is, 18
Strange
months,
figure.
and even a year, because it puts a lot of strain on your commission, and it puts, sometimes it puts it onto the company that's trying to do this for you, right? So for every 12 months, they have to go through that kind of
I
process.
think we did, excuse me, I think you hit it, I think we did it for budgeting, because we start in September, and I think that's why we did it, now that you mention it.
Because I think in the past, it's been some 3-year deal.
Really?
It was
3
3-year
years.
contracts.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, typically it was 3-year deal that you did. And I believe, and don't quote me on this one, but I believe it was probably a certain differential over a benchmark. So there is in the industry
It was
uses
2 cents over to Selkirk or something like that.
Exactly, yes, exactly. So there would be a benchmark that you could reference, and then you would be so many cents over that.
Why wouldn't we, if we're going out for bid or asking for a price, and it's gonna be fluid, why wouldn't we do the same thing? We've got a hard, fast price now, why would we go with 2 cents over Selkirk or 1 cent?
Well,
or
budgetary
50 cents
reasons,
or
and then you float the market, so
Oh, yeah,
when you float
okay.
the market, you take your chances. I mean, there was the winter of 13, 14 is a fine example, right? Had you rode the market then, you'd have been underwater, so.
Yeah.
So if it's for budgetary reasons, and most municipalities are for that reason, they know what they need to budget, they know what the fixed costs are gonna be, and that's why they tend to want to do that.
Thank you.
Mark, you got a comment?
Yeah, one of my hats is I monitor the purchase of oil for 5 schools.
Okay.
And I will never gamble, I'll never do the float. It's just not, it's a good way to be fired from this job. If it goes wrong, you can't be a hero, but you can be a bum. I think what we need is stability. And an example of that is this past winter. The good rate that we had, we use a lot of fuel. And, you know, again, it goes back to my satisfaction. What's unfortunate is that the contract has expired. If we had this conversation before the last purchase, we could have extended. And in this instance, I think I would have preferred to have worked out something on those lines instead of a bid, because in this instance, a bid involves more cost to someone. So, I do think, though, that it would be wise for us to purchase, to top out the tank, and because the contract's expired, we do have to put it out to bid, but I think we should put it out to bid by taking advantage of probably the best price we could get currently.
Well, if the three of us agree, we don't have to go out to bid.
I thought we did if it's, we don't?
Not if we agree. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we had,
Not if we, all three of us
All
agree.
three were gonna go with one bid.
oh, you know, I love this job, you learn something new every day.
Same,
My question, on a 3-year,
yes.
what happened to us this year was we had a low price, and we said, good, we'll burn propane instead of pellets, because propane's less expensive.
Absolutely.
Well, what's going to happen is that's going to get all out of whack now, because the price of propane's gone up, and in retrospect, we're going to say, oh, maybe we should have burnt some pellets, because the average would have been better.
You've been exercising it, haven't you? You've been burning some, so
Yeah.
it's not a lot involved in firing up the pellets if we needed to.
Right. But if we do the 3-year, that's cheaper, then we can budget for that, and then we won't get into this, oh, in June, gee,
Well,
hindsight is wonderful, we should have burnt pellets in February because the price went up.
exactly. But the concern we have on 3 years, that we can't fix the 3-year.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it three.
We can't fix a 3-year.
Oh,
Just because
I thought you could.
we can't get a commodities trader to go that far out.
How far can you get, what, 2 years?
We can get it roughly 18 months.
That's why we took 18 months.
I don't want to do 18 months this cycle because that puts us into January and then we're caught between a
Exactly,
rock
so
and a hard spot.
that's why we, Bob and I were talking, and we thought maybe go through September, and then we can talk, maybe next July, if so choose, that we could extend it from, say, October 1st through. So take this contract, and go from July 1st, which you could wait till July 1st. I wouldn't recommend you wait, but you go from July 1st through September 30th. We could talk in August about extending it from September 19 through August of the following year. That way you get on a 1-year cycle, and you're on your budgetary cycle.
Why can't we go from now until August next year?
Oh, you can. You can. And
He's prepared to do that today.
Yeah, the contract would be written from July 1st through September of 19.
With the intent of revisiting it the end of next June?
Exactly, just to give
July
you,
or
so we
something?
don't run into this same
Yeah.
situation, believe me. I am going to do our best to make sure that this never happens again. And-
I'll still be here, and so will
and-
Mr.
and-
Babson.
And I look forward to that. You're gonna
Yeah.
congratulate me.
Well, no, but it, no, I mean, we're
Crystal ball, I
guaranteed to be here, you know.
Yeah, all right,
Well,
all
I
right.
don't know if the big guy upstairs is gonna.
Right. There's no guarantees who's gonna be where. But here's the thing, we use 15,000 gallons we use 275,000 gallons roughly in a 12-month period, which is about 15,000 gallons a month, average overall.
Sure.
Would it be better for us to do a contract not based on months, but based on gallons only? There's none of this before, it's gonna expire September 1st or 275. Let's have.
So just have gallons.
Yeah, because then we would be,
Well-
then you would have the opportunity to say, okay, we're going to do 275 gallons.
I understand.
And when you get to 250 gallons, you can somehow tag it and say, we better get in touch with them, see if they wanna extend again.
Understand. So, we can do that, but we can only really go 30 to 60 days beyond your existing contract. So if it was to expire, you had 300,000 gallons, and typically, we said this would take you through September. Well, because we hedge these gallons, right, and they become due, or the call is called on.
I see, okay.
In those months, we can really only extend it
Yeah.
30 to 60 days beyond what the contract
Yeah.
would be written for. That's the problem we have, because let's just give for instance, that you purchase 275,000 gallons again, and Bob burns a lot more pellets, and that 275,000 now takes us into January of
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
We're, now Eastern is exposed because we have to fill those contracts back in September.
Yeah.
Right?
So we can't do strictly a time,
Or you can do strictly a time.
regardless of how much we do or don't burn?
Exactly. Yeah. So we can let those gallons expire, so if you said 275,000 gallons, to a certain extent, we could let some of those gallons expire. We wouldn't want you to come back to us and say, we didn't burn anything, therefore those gallons are gone, we're not gonna consume them.
Right.
Right, but, you know, we would work with you to a certain extent on those 275 gallons. Should September comes, let's use this example. Should September 19 comes and you like the price and you still have 30,000 gallons left, Eastern would work with you on those 30,000 gallons for the price that was on the contract. Because we know you would consume those before Eastern would be exposed, right, those 30,000 gallons.
Okay, but what if it's all gone in June?
It's all gone in June and the contract has expired.
So we can't have just a time contract?
You can't without gallons, right, because we need to.
That's what I'm asking.
understand.
That was my
Yes.
that was my question,
So
was
you
can we
can.
have just a
You
time?
can, if you use a benchmark pricing formula.
No, I don't
Right,
like
but
that.
if you use a fixed price, because you're asking Eastern to go into the marketplace and purchase X amount of gallons to fix those costs for Carroll County. And we'll do that, and we do that. But the contract would say that Carroll County is going to take these gallons that we earmark for. So if you wanted to go just to a time frame, then you would have to use the index pricing.
Yes, sir.
I would like to hear the recommendation from Ken and Bob before we go any further with this conversation, what they would recommend that we do.
So here's, Bob has a benchmark of when he can burn pellets, at what cost it would be cheaper than burning propane. We're nowhere near that.
$1.64 in the bar.
No, it's not that high.
No, it's not that high, it's about $1.45-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so we won't be burning any pellets to subsidize burning any propane. I would like to hear what Bob and Bob and Russ have brought for us today to consider. If we go out to bid, we're gonna be paying for that tank one way or another. No one's eating it. I mean, it's gonna come back onto us on a per gallon basis. So I'd like to hear what they have. I don't think it's not gonna blow our minds. It's not gonna.
No, and don't forget, between last week's conversation and this week's conversation, we already saved 2 cents. And he's brought that forward to us today.
But if he does give us a price today, are we in any way obligated?
No.
I think you should see it on
No.
paper. Do you want to see it on?
Once you present it, it's still
public?
It's still public.
Whether you want to hear the number is up to you, but,
Because I want to enter into a contract. I want to do this.
yeah. I'd want
Well, I gotta know what this is, I mean,
Right, and
I'm amenable to it, but I
you
have to know what
ask
to get
for that
at.
number in order to get that number.
In talking to Bob, I feel it's a reasonable number. It's comfortable. It's not like $1.34.
Unless the market tanks the rest of the summer, which, you know, all predictions are that it's
I
not.
have a recommendation on how to go forward.
I was just wondering if it was less than what they charged us last week.
No.
No.
No, because it's not. What I'm wondering,
I'm a Yankee, I'm sorry, go
understand.
ahead.
No, I totally understand.
we're talking about something that we have to be mindful is proprietary, and, they are in the business of being in competition.
Yeah.
And so we have to adhere to the right to know, but we also have to protect your right to your pricing. Is it possible to read what you have, just don't state the price, and we can enroll on? I want to hear the terms more than the price, right?
If we're talking, can we go into non-public?
Yes, we can.
To discuss the contract, yeah.
Yeah, we can. We have to have the right citation, but I believe that that's exactly what we can do.
Can we let them discuss for a little bit, and we go on with,
Well, what's there to discuss? They're here and we're here, and
I think we're at the point where you need to hear a number.
I do too. Madam Chairman, I make a motion, we go into non-public, and I need the citation card there.
Second.
And I will citate this, is that the word, citate? The bottom one, is it?
I don't know, we'll see how fast you read.
I think the only thing would be volunteers. No, that's what's.
Oh, that's a school one? Yeah, I got so many hats here. Okay, so we don't have a, oh, that was a school thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still on the school board, so.
I think what we have to do is either take Bob and Ken's advice and give the number and go forward, yes or no, or put it out to bid.
But it's gonna take a couple months for us to, just to get everything situated by the time we get it put out. And then the prices come back, we have to have the tank moved, or somebody's gotta bring another tank in, or somebody's gotta purchase the tank.
This is a big one.
It's not a simple bid.
Okay, so. Do we want a bid or an RFP?
I think some of the other considerations that, when you put it out to bid, if you put it out to bid, should you choose to put it out to bid, that the companies that you solicit have the capacity to be able to service a complex like you have here.
Right.
Because this is a big industrial complex. We do have the expertise in-house and the equipment and the experience. The other thing that we offer too is, we monitor your tanks, so we know, where your tank's at any given time. Should we see an incident headed down the highway like it was in January? Eastern was one of the very few companies that did not have an issue with product shortage between December 24th and January 26th. There was a big shortage. I don't know if you heard it in the news, but Eastern was not one of those companies that had issues. We pride ourselves on how big we are. So not only is it about pricing, but it's also about Eastern's infrastructure and Eastern's ability to be able to service the account when you need it. So it isn't, sometimes it isn't come down to exactly all about price. Sometimes it's about the company's infrastructure, the company's ability to be able to service your account and be there when you need us. So, yes.
Okay. I'm very happy with Eastern Propane, and I can't imagine they should fear any competition for an account such as this, that they have to compete in the marketplace. And so I have no fear of the marketplace either. We owe it to the constituency to be forthcoming, and that's why I won't entertain the price, because it's not fair to you and it's not fair to the process. What I do think is appropriate, because I think from my understanding, it's appropriate to top those tanks off tomorrow. I just feel very confident on that. But at the same time, I think what we should do is direct Ken and Bob to prepare an RFP, not a bid, where we specify exactly what we want, what we would like to get back in return. Issues of service, issue of price, tank capacity, all the stuff that you guys can think of. And then we will, we have enough time, we'll get those proposals back, whichever ones they are, and we always have the thing that we have the right to reject any and all bids. I think that's the proper way to go about it, because we can't negotiate fairly for you in public, and we have no mechanism where the commissioners can do this in non-public. So I think the way we have to do it to be in compliance with law is the way I just described it.
David, you have a comment?
No, I think this is one of the negatives of 91A. Yes, we have a way we could go into caucus if we wanted to. I don't think that's the proper way to do it, but I would certainly like to know what the competitive price is on the market, and rather than sitting here and trying to negotiate a price that we don't know whether it's a good one or a bad one. And I certainly think that Easton has earned our consideration. They've done such a nice job, but I think that we have to at least find out where we are in the market.
Can you deliver that load tomorrow at the price you told Bob?
Actually, I think it's gonna be less.
If we
At
wait
the
for
price
the
he
day after
has?
tomorrow,
You talking about the
it'll be even
contracted
less.
price?
No,
You're talking
not the, you want the day price.
Okay.
You want the
If
day
we wait
price.
another
want the
day,
We would like the day price, okay?
You don't want the price him and I talked about. I think tomorrow's lower, and I will do, what I will do is, I'll do the better off.
Okay, because I know what the,
Thank you very much, I appreciate that greatly.
I know what the price is. If this is gonna take 6 weeks,
Yeah, that's gonna be
I
expired.
think we're gonna have some issues.
Yeah, this
It's
is
gonna cost us money.
It's gonna cost us a lot more money.
This was expired.
So we want the 40, we want the load tomorrow.
Yeah, on a spot basis.
Well, yeah, but-
But we want to also grab this price.
This will expire.
Yeah, either way, we want the load
What's the
tomorrow.
expiration date on this?
We can hold this for probably the end of next week.
Okay, how quick can you?
No. Time is not going to push us into this. I think both of you gentlemen are correct. We need to put it out with an RFP.
Okay.
I was kind of, but I don't want to be pushed because of time.
Well-
That's not something. We'll get the load tomorrow, and we'll ask Bob and Ken to come up with the RFP, and then
And-
push that as quickly as
You
we
could come up to, well, now, we're not meeting for another 2 weeks,
No,
so now we're looking at August by the time your opening is up.
but Madam Chairman, I respectfully disagree with you. We are pushed up against time. And by misusing the window that we have right now, we could end up spending a lot more money than we would prefer.
And we could end up saving a lot more money.
I don't know. Not-
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Eastern is fair and competitive, we know this, because we see it every day.
All right, so I think,
we know that we've given Carroll County the best number that we can
Okay.
give.
I am not going along with this today, so therefore it has to go to RFP.
no, it doesn't. Oh, because you won't.
Right. It will not be unanimous.
Okay.
Well, I think that's unfortunate because you bailed before the conversation's over. And I hope you might reconsider as the conversation continues that we we do have this fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers, which I know you are aware of that and cognizant, and you care about that. If we don't continue the conversation with an open mind to what's best, then that could end up costing us a lot more money. What if we were to, instead of doing an RFP, what if we were to place our trust in the people that we find trustworthy, and that's Ken and Bob, to negotiate on our behalf the best deal that they can have, and bring that.
They've already done that.
Well, why don't we authorize them to, I don't know. You're not gonna go along with it, so, you know, there's nothing I can do to change your mind, but I think we should just go ahead and continue, find a way to continue with Eastern Propane and take advantage of what I am really feeling is a good opportunity for us that will pass if we don't. But I don't know.
What did I miss here in going in and non-public and finding out the price?
They couldn't find anything.
There really
91A.
isn't anything that we could go under. I mean, the school districts have an RSA that.
Well,
is
isn't this a contract?
Yeah, but it doesn't list it under our 91As. It's specifically for school boards.
I'm the superintendent of schools up in Hale.
Okay, would one of you gentlemen make the motion to purchase the load tomorrow?
How much are we buying tomorrow?
9,000 to 10,000
A
gallons.
full load.
Yeah, that's what they always deliver.
A full load. Contract or not, you should take tomorrow's delivery.
I'll make a motion that we take a delivery tomorrow, or whenever we can.
Yep. At what price?
A price.
Which is?
I can get that to you
At
before
the
you authorize
price,
it.
at the
Yeah.
price discussed between Easton and Carroll County's maintenance superintendent and the county administrator.
Madam Chair, I can barely hear anybody talking.
Okay, I believe the day price is not the price that you and Bob were discussing, is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Day price is day price, and everyone here has said that that is the way we wish to go.
What
But
is the day
tomorrow,
price? Why can't we know the day price?
And
Oh.
Eastern will give you the better of the number that we spoke of, or what our day price is.
That's a wide range.
But it's gonna be less.
I
It's gonna be less.
okay, you can give us the day price for tomorrow,
I
because
don't
we're,
have,
oh, okay.
I don't have the right price.
How
But
long
I
did it
can,
take
I
you to
can
get it?
call and, actually, I can probably get it before I leave the premises.
Can you get it in 5 minutes?
I don't have my phone with me, but I can.
Would you like to borrow mine or Russ's?
Somebody's available, if somebody's available to give it to me, yeah.
Can we take a recess? Or maybe take,
Move on to something else.
table this for 10, 15 minutes?
Well, yeah, because we can go to Lisa,
Yeah,
go to Bob's bid, and then come back if you want.
yeah, I think so, because I don't want to miss the opportunity, but we have to do it in accordance with the law.
And I think it's smart going and knowing what today's price is.
Yeah, you gotta know.
Well, getting tomorrow's delivery, I think, is the smart way
Yeah.
to go.
Yes.
But you need the price for that before we leave.
Yes, before I'll vote to accept the day price, I need to know what that price is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table the motion until he comes back.
Is there a motion on the table?
David made one, yes.
What was the motion?
To make the purchase tomorrow.
But no one seconded it.
The 9,000 or 10,000. It wasn't seconded.
No.
So we don't have to table it because this hasn't really been made yet. So come back when you, a few minutes, I guess.
All right, then we'll go to the registry of deed has a bid.
I'm just thinking,
Oh, good. That's what we need to be doing.
I'm really nervous.
Okay, Lisa? We had the bids, right?
We received the bids last week and opened them. I've taken the time to review them and checked on the references, and have found that I make a recommendation that we accept the bids as received.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So moved.
You second that? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the registry of deeds recommendation for the choice of bid. And all those in favor, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Just a second, please. Okay. Go ahead.
Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank
Okay,
you.
is there anything else for us?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
Bob, you're next.
Morning again.
Morning, these were bids we opened last week
Yeah.
for the mattresses.
Correct. Mountain View mattresses. We received 5 bids. Four bids were received, 3 from known vendors and 1 from an advertisement. I have $23,000 budgeted for this, $800 in anticipated disposal costs. We had Direct Supply bid at $25,980.76 with $350 shipping charges. Alley Med at $25,862.50 with no shipping. Ardent Medical, $24,214.40 with no shipping charges. And the low bidder was McKesson Medical, an existing vendor of ours, at $21,412.91 with no shipping charges. McKesson Medical is my recommendation, being the low bidder and all things being equal in the bid process.
All right.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to accept the recommendation for McKesson Medical. All those in, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Can I ask Bob a question? Off topic, just while he's sitting there.
Possibly, if he wants to answer it.
How did your change over to TV?
It didn't happen Monday. There was a serial number conflict, so it should be happening today.
Okay.
They're supposed to be showing up today to make it happen.
So today's the big day, huh?
Today it is.
David?
Yeah, I finally found the shears for the shrubs.
But not enough cord.
Are we on a cost reduction by buying 25-foot cords instead of 100-foot cords?
That's what I had up here. I'll be sure to get you a line of cord.
Okay.
Thank you.
I went as far as I could reach.
All right. Well, thank you for your efforts. I appreciate it.
Okay.
That's all I have for now.
Wait until Bob's back with the price, and then we wrap that up.
Well, Madam Chairman, while we're gonna break, I've got a letter here from headmistress at Freiburg Academy, and it needs to be signed or sent to our lawyer or whatever. Time is running out, they're now out of school.
Do you think it needs to go to our lawyer, David?
No, I think that's, hopefully, I haven't read the letter, I just saw it. How did that get here, Cheryl?
She delivered it.
She?
I don't know who she was, she didn't say who she was, she just asked me to make sure you got it
Oh,
When did it come?
yesterday afternoon.
Oh,
You want
wait a
me
minute,
to look at
I'm
this?
recused of that.
yeah.
That's no
Okay.
ML.
Why don't we wait a week until the,
Well, it's gonna be 2 weeks, man. And if anything goes wrong, then we're up against it. So, we've only gone around and around and around in this for over a year, so it's time to.
well, what is your opinion? You're the school board. What is your
I'd
opinion?
sign it so that we get something going.
Well, then make a motion to sign it. You said,
Well, let's wait till we get through with these, gentlemen.
okay, where were we? We were,
They were about to give us a day price.
for
the
the
delivery.
9 to 10,000 gallons.
Yeah, and so the all-in delivered to your tank is $117.40.
All right, now we got a motion, we can make the proposal for that purchase.
Okay, come right ahead.
You gonna
David,
do-
did you started that motion, right?
Yep.
Okay. You want to second it?
Okay, so I need to hear what the motion is before I can second it.
Okay. David, you want to repeat the motion?
Make a motion that we purchase tomorrow for the next day, the 10,000 gallon delivery from Easton for propane,
The price of,
for a price of $117.40.
second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to purchase a load of 9 to 10,000 gallons at the rate of $117.40. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, now the second is the motion for an RFP.
Well, is there a motion for it now?
No. We need a motion for an RFP.
Well, I can't see how I can't in my head figure out how to make the motion for the RFP when I know that the RFP is going to end up, the process is gonna end up costing us money. And the purpose of the RFP is to save money. And, you know, I'm pretty confident to know that if we take the time necessary to do an RFP, that is not in the best benefit of the county. So I don't know how to make an RFP, but I think an RFP in this instance is not in the best interest.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The price has already gone up 5 cents since last week.
And that's our concern as well. If we don't, again, and I'm not pressuring anyone, you know,
I know.
I say you have to do your due diligence. I just know the market fairly well, and it's very volatile right now. And it's more volatile to the higher side than it is the low side. And I'll just throw that for informational purposes only.
Well, I'll make a motion that we ask Bob and Ken to come up with an RFP to purchase that propane. Do I have a second? Okay, so motion fails because of no second. David?
I'll make a motion that we ask Bob Murray and the commissioner to sit down with Easton Propane and negotiate a 12-month contract.
Second. I would ask though that maybe we might amend that to also include, we change this to use titles and to include Ken. And I would say that since it's the chairman's concerned that we do an RFP, that she be the commissioner who was involved in this. But I second that motion. So it's a discussion time.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded to negotiate a contract, a 12-month contract with Eastern.
Including a commissioner and Mr. Murray.
Okay, discussion?
Yeah, I think both sides are good.
I would certainly hope that Ken would be included. I made the motion just to make sure that there was a commissioner on the negotiating team.
I think it solves the problem for us, that this can move quicker than an RFP would, and as quickly as we can is I think, vital. And I would like to think that Commissioner Bevard be the commissioner and see that this is done post-haste. I think that's the best way for us to proceed.
Any more discussion?
Well, I'd like to know if you want, what your thoughts on this report.
I'm going to vote against it.
Okay. All right, so I guess you wouldn't be the one that...
She wouldn't be the one we'd pick.
Well...
I think it should go out to an RFP. Yep, prices go up, prices go down. That's just part of life. I think it's been a number of years since this has gone out. We both had very good arguments as to why this should go out to bid. And
excuse me, it's the commissioner's talking right now. Prices go up, prices go down. That's a given. Semi-tractor trailers go up and down the road and they come back. The trick is not to step out in front of them. So the prices go up, the prices go down. This price is going up. I don't want to be stepping out in front of it. And that's what we would do if we delay any longer.
yes, Paul?
May I make a suggestion? That we enter into a contract for 1 year and then immediately start the process of putting out an RFP for the termination of the contract.
I think that was the suggestion last year when we went with an 18-month contract. That we would put it out for an RFP before it became did.
Bob and I listened to that meeting, and that was not even discussed. So.
One question, Madam Chair.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, no.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that Commissioner Babson schedule and head up this negotiations post-haste so that we can move forward with this, and to further authorize the chair to call an emergency meeting for this purpose.
If it's not a unanimous decision, I believe it has to go out to bid.
Madam Chairman, you may not want to pitch a tent on that hill.
David?
My own personal opinion, Madam Chairman, if you stand in the way of this and the price inflates substantially by the time we get to do a contract, you're not gonna hang it around my neck.
Nor mine.
Well, I have very broad shoulders.
Okay.
Is there a motion? I made one, I don't know if it was seconded.
No, we're all done. Now, Commissioner...
Wait a minute, I made a motion,
Yep.
Yeah,
and was it seconded?
no, you didn't second.
No, I'll second it though.
We had the discussion before it was seconded. And the motion is to have Commissioner Babson be the commissioner negotiating, and to have it done post haste, and to call an emergency meeting when it's done.
David?
Well, this is obviously gonna pass 2-0, but the end result is we can't do anything about it, because you're correct, we have to go out for bid unless it's unanimous, so. Let's go on the record as Commissioner Hansel and I being in favor of it, you being opposed, and then we'll instruct Ken to put together a request for quote.
Miss,
Yes, sir.
I don't think so. I think that we should stay this course, Commissioner. I think you should negotiate it, because when we come back from the negotiations, we're at that point able to have a figure that we're aware of. So I wouldn't necessarily give up that we have to go to an RFP in this instance, and I believe that I will take sufficient time to prove that point.
David?
The letter of the law is one thing, but the spirit of the law is what should guide us.
David?
Except Commissioner, if we can't come to an agreement after we have the negotiated price, we've lost, unless we can do it 2 or 3 days, we've lost another week or 2 or 3. And maybe we should go forward, even if we're not gonna use the request for quote.
So where are we standing with this motion? What is?
It was seconded by Commissioner Babson, but you guys haven't voted on it.
So are you saying you don't want to?
No, I'm just saying maybe we should go ahead with both in case we come into a situation with Easton that we don't agree on, and now we've set this whole thing back another 2 weeks. And if we go forward with a quote.
So why don't we pass this one and then pass another one to put it out for RFP? And then you got parallel options, I guess. But
that's what I'm.
But I would do that with a separate vote.
Okay.
May I point out that you already have a negotiated price that we can't be privy to because of the RFP
We
possibility?
don't have a negotiated price. We were told that there's been a price that was given to Bob, but there's no negotiated price with us. We're talking, the motion that we previously passed is that the commissioner would sit on in negotiations, so there is no negotiated price. Once we have one, then that's another thing for us to consider. Now, parallel to that, and I agree with Commissioner Babson because of time, after we do this vote, we should do another one to put it out for an RFP that would satisfy that part of the process, and then we have parallel choices, and it'll be what it is. I don't know. It's a mess. It shouldn't be this difficult, but it is. So.
Okay. If there's no more discussion, Cheryl, would you read the motion, please?
Commissioner Hansel motion that Commissioner Babson set up a meeting with, you said including Ken, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
With the county administrator and Eastern Propane to negotiate a contract, a 12-month contract, post haste, and authorize Commissioner Bevard to call an emergency meeting after that negotiation.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion.
Make a motion that we instruct Ken to put together a request for quote for our propane needs.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Motion's been made and seconded to have Ken and Bob put out an RFP. All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye, a nay. I'm opposed. That's that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bob, would you set up when we can talk with these folks?
I'd like to do it tomorrow morning, if everybody's available.
Tomorrow morning and Friday morning are out for me. Either afternoon will work.
This afternoon?
This afternoon.
Well, you have to ask
I'd really
them.
like to be, I'd really like to be next door during the satellite conversion this afternoon.
And I got hay to put up, so
I would like to do it sometime tomorrow, anytime.
tomorrow afternoon.
It's gonna rain tomorrow.
Are you guys available tomorrow?
You can make yourself available, yes.
What time?
Whatever time works for the commission.
Anytime for me.
Any time for me?
12 o'clock?
Well, no, because I gotta go to the Remick Museum on that meeting, so that gets over about 12, so probably 1
o'clock?
and on. 1 and on.
1 o'clock?
Down to Ken's office?
Yep,
Okay, and be prepared for what?
the lowest
Like-
price you can find.
I brought that today, but yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Go back and roll over another stone.
Believe me, we've given you, we have not gone up on our operating costs at all. We haven't gone up in the last 4 years. So we have, this is our best price. So.
Well, I
Are
thank
you
for that.
available for an emergency meeting tomorrow afternoon?
And we,
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
just, if I could just ask one more question, when you go out and you research and you're looking at this, is it about, just about the price? I mean, if somebody come back with $1 or we're at $1.05, I mean.
No, they need to service
There's a
the
lot
tank,
of,
they need
there's
to.
a lot of other,
No,
We
Things that we bring to the
we are,
okay,
I
maintenance of
think,
the tank.
aware, all of us, of the whole picture.
I understand.
I'm out of town on Friday, but tomorrow, depends on what time.
1 o'clock?
Commissioner Babson, Mr. Lefebvre just said that this is his price. Was this just negotiated?
The what?
The price that he's proposing
No,
today?
yeah, but I never mentioned the price.
You haven't? Oh, that's true. You don't, he doesn't know the price.
I never mentioned the price.
Okay.
And I think it's unfair that they're gonna come up with the price, because if it goes out to RFP, then all your competition knows what the price is.
No, not at all. What we're putting our trust in, you see, the commissioners can't know this price in this format. The only way we can get the price is when it's done through an RFP, apparently, because we don't have unanimity. But when a commissioner comes back and knows the price, then it comes down to the fact that the commissioners, at least one of them, know the price, and then it comes down to, do we trust that commissioner or not? So it's not pretty, but it's, at least it lets us find out what the price is.
We still won't know the price.
Oh, I don't know.
Mr. Babson will know the price.
Well, that's all right. As long as Mr. Babson knows the price, then it's gonna mean a lot to me.
Can we do this right after we're done with Siemens?
Today?
Yeah, while you're all still here. Can we, after we let Siemens
No,
down?
I got other stuff we gotta do.
All right.
Unless I do it this afternoon later on. I don't know what you got.
No, I think Commissioner Babson needs time to sit and negotiate without Commissioner Bevard or myself in the room. And after that, if you got time to meet, I'll hang around if you think it would go that quick. Then it's just a matter of recessing this meeting until later this afternoon. We're talking a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely, we
So
understand.
we're not talking peanuts.
Absolutely.
This isn't
We
a
understand.
$5,000, $6,000, even a $10,000 purchase. This is,
I'd be in favor of doing it today if we could pull it off.
I would too.
Well, I can, David, do you want to try to do it this afternoon, or do you want to wait and do it tomorrow afternoon?
I'd really like to do it tomorrow afternoon, because I get hay baled and sitting in the field, and I gotta,
You got rain coming.
I gotta get, you
Yes.
got rain coming, and it's gonna rain tomorrow, but it's gonna be pulled off, so.
Now, if I have an emergency meeting, how much notice do they have to have?
None.
I think it's an hour.
Would you make an attempt to call the paper, and I would call Representative Comeau, because he's very diligent about keeping the public informed.
Well, I was going to say, can I declare it at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon? Shouldn't take more than 2 hours,
Actually,
should it?
if you have 24-hour notice, you don't need, it doesn't have to be an emergency.
If it's an emergency, you don't need any posting, you just do it.
Right, but,
Do it after.
but if we know it's gonna be 24 hours from now, it doesn't have to be an emergency.
Correct.
So why don't I just say that we will have a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m.?
3 p.m. tomorrow?
Okay. That would give you 2 hours to negotiate. Is that sufficient time, do you think?
Yep, hopefully it won't take that long.
Okay. So we'll have a commissioners meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m.
And it will be duly posted.
Okay. Sure, I can do that. We'll have 24 hours, and then it's all good. And as of now, the agenda will consist of
Propane.
Commissioner Babson's report on negotiations with Eastern Program. Okay. All right.
So what time are we meeting tomorrow? Still at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, right, gentlemen?
Sure.
And then we'll meet at 3.
Okay.
Very good, and we'll make it right.
All right. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for coming. Thank you. Well, I must say that was
Okay, thanks. We'll call you.
Do we need a
Should we take a
recess?
5-minute recess?
Yes, let's have a 5-minute recess. Oh, there's my email right there.
Oh, that's why the clock moved.
Your truncheon?
Where's
Were
Ken?
Who knows? Kill these lights and we
Want me to kill the lights?
can.
Can you see?
It would be better if the lights were off.
How about
Can you
Ed?
film it, Ed, if the lights are on?
Yeah, the camera's really good at it.
Okay. Well, we're waiting for Ken, so.
Sure. Well, in the meantime, I'll hand out, this is our final scope
Okay.
for the project we discussed.
Recess is over?
Thank you.
Oh, wow. So when were we going to get that? Today?
So that's the final scope. This is, I'll give you guys a couple copies. So this final scope is basically, and it's part of the great news that we have today, and actually, should I wait for Ken? I probably should.
Yes.
In the meantime, Commissioners,
This-
welcome back Sean Foy, Elmer Arbogast, and Leif Erickson from Siemens. I know that you've met most of them before.
So is this the presentation of the audit results?
This is the final scope.
No, is this the presentation of the audit results?
Yes, first, yes.
That was supposed to have been done December 1st. Just want to make sure I know where I'm at.
Yeah.
Was that necessary, Madam Chairman?
I didn't know where I was at because this says something different.
Yes, that may be, but it was strictly a jab that it was supposed to be.
No, it was
ready.
not. Here is this. Look.
If
I
you-
wanted
if
to
you were
know
around
where
here,
we
you'd
were
know
at.
they've been working here every, a long time.
They've been doing their audit, yes. And this is the results, the final results of their audit. That's what I needed to know. Simple question. All right, Kevin. Okay, go right ahead.
All right, thank you very much. So yeah, thanks for having us back. Like we just were discussing, it has been
again, like from the beginning, I think we talked a lot about performance contracting model as being a process that is, in a good way, is not a knee-jerk reaction process. It's something that you really take an evaluation of your campus and your buildings and really make sure we engineer and develop a great project for the county and for you folks. So things have taken a little bit longer than we anticipated due to a few different factors, which we'll get into here in a few minutes. But just as kind of an agenda, we'd like to quickly like to go through just how we got to this point. Review the performance contracting process, then talk about where we're at now, have a final scope discussion, and then the next steps in the process, and what to expect moving forward as far as the timeline and financing and the final performance contract, potentially. So how did we get here? You know, a lot of the discussions in the RFQ that you folks submitted or put out for companies to respond to, it was an energy savings and infrastructure improvement project. So in following New Hampshire state law, the RFQs were issued, we responded and interviewed. Obviously Siemens was selected, which we were excited about and appreciate. We began by performing a preliminary audit and analyzing your utility data, costs, and your usage. We data logged equipment, your usage and trend data. And I think it's important for everyone to see this list too, because like you were saying, that a lot is done behind the scenes. And like you were saying, Commissioner Babson, if you're not here, you don't see us all the time. But there's a lot going on with Elmer and his team and Carrie and the energy engineers. So I felt like it was important just to show you kind of the steps that got us here. And then we presented the preliminary audit back in December with a potential scope of work. And the great news is this final project is very, very close to that preliminary audit, which we'll talk about as far as the measures and what's included in the final scope. We've calculated incentives and rebates available, which we have that listed out as well. We'll talk about that. We engineered a final design for the project scope for subcontractors to bid on. And again, we calculated guaranteed energy savings to develop a final scope of work. So that's, again, the other part of the performance contracting model, which is great. You have this, not only energy savings, but it's guaranteed by us. And you can also use this model to get capital improvement measures done for your facilities that you potentially otherwise couldn't do and not have the funds to do. So that's basically the last 10 months or so in a nutshell. Again, the benefits, like we just talked about, you can design, build your project, and the county has had really no upfront costs throughout this whole process. Siemens has held all those costs throughout. And through the performance contracting model, you're using the lowest qualified bid. You're not doing just low bid projects. So you're getting everything from very qualified contractors to top of the line material, nuts and bolts, the whole 9 yards. And these, again, even when we talk about guaranteed energy savings, those savings will be measured and verified each year as well.
Can we ask you a question?
Sure, absolutely.
What is your point in guaranteed early savings? Are we going to get some strange savings that we don't expect, or are they going to be just the beginning of what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so it'll be, the guaranteed yearly savings is the amount which we'll show you in a minute, which we talked about in the preliminary audit. But every year you're guaranteed to save at least that.
Right, but I'm asking, why are you specifying guaranteed early savings? Is that a bunch of savings that we're going to all of a sudden get that we don't expect, and we're going to get the regular on an annual basis?
Oh no, yearly savings, so every year.
It says yearly, not early.
Jesus, no, I'm just asking. Sorry.
There will be some actual early savings, construction savings, which you'll see that's...
well, we'll take those.
We've already had early savings in design.
Right. Exactly.
I would have sworn that said early.
And like we just said, the county and your team can use these energy savings to obviously reduce your utility consumption, but upgrade your aging infrastructure, such as the roofs and the boilers. Moving from the R22 refrigerant to R410A. That'll save you money in the long run, and obviously, and then to improve occupant comfort as well.
You should have been here earlier, it was about 90.
Was it really? That's, all this will be fixed as part of that. So now, Ken and Bob, I think it'd be a good time to go through the scope. I'll pull up the spreadsheet. We can discuss this. So this spreadsheet will be so this is a breakdown of your project.
Is that in here?
That is this slide now. I have.
Yeah, but you're also looking on that.
Yeah, I can't see that.
I'll see it.
Ah, there
There we go.
Wow.
Commissioner,
This is a little difficult.
Council, I can blow it up a little more if you want.
Yeah, I can't read small print. I can see that.
Okay. So as we talked about, like in the preliminary audit back in December, we had we budgeted a cost for the project based on the facility improvement measures that we were potentially going to implement. Of all those measures, so this is broken out by each building. So this is your whole energy reduction project. So for the administrative building, this building here, we looked at lighting upgrades, building automation, which is your energy management system improvements, building envelope, roofing, your boiler upgrade. We did look at security and card access, installing humidifiers, the VRF installation, which, like as we talked about, if you recall, is the simultaneous heating and cooling system. And we looked at fire alarm and cameras. So of this list here, as you can see, there's the guaranteed yearly savings that you'll see, and it's total right there at the bottom. The total project cost for each FIM, and then the incentives through every source that are available.
Okay, now you took cameras off?
So yeah, in talking to Bob and Ken, again that's solely an infrastructure thing, which doesn't have any savings, but in keeping to as close to the $3.4 million number that we discussed earlier, that was probably the first thing that we looked at too.
And also, in addition, there's FEMA grants, Homeland Security grants for this, and you're actually able to get those, more likely to get those grants if they're outside of this project than if it wouldn't be included in this project. Sure. So I think the plan was to apply, for those grants to pay for those versus having them in there.
Right, and that's why Bob and I thought it'd be best if we just take it off.
Makes sense.
Yeah, the timing for those grants too, all of it made sense to go there.
I'm not a heating and ventilation expert, so could you tell me within that scope of work, will we be rid of having the heat run during the summer and the air conditioning running in the winter?
Absolutely. So the VRF system will provide the heat over a certain temperature. It'll be basically over. We start out at 30 and then optimize it from there. So anytime the building needs heat over that temperature, there'll be the VRF where you provide heat, and the boiler will actually be off. So even if you had a morning like this morning, I think it was 50 degrees, was it, where maybe a room would need heat, it'd be coming from the VRF, not the boiler would actually be off. And if you have the nice thing about that heat is, if the reverse is over there in the data room or the 911 room where they have air conditioning cranking this morning, it's actually moving that heat from that room over to the room that would need heat there. So you would have a cassette that would, control the temperature, and these would actually be off.
It essentially pulls heat out of the different areas of the building or outside, and just moves heat around.
Do you have a heat recovery unit anywhere on this?
You actually, the current air handlers have energy recovery and heat recovery in them.
Okay.
That you purchased back in 2006.
Okay.
The problem there you have is that there are nice Lennox units on the roof. Inside, you still have a reheat control model, and we're basically eliminating that reheat. So the building's built provide air conditioning as much, and then to actually control the room temperature by heating it back up.
Yep.
And that's the way the design is. So that we're basically going to eliminate that, where the air handlers are going to just provide ventilation, and the VRF and the boiler will work together to provide the heat of the building.
Okay, so how many circulators are there in this proposal? Do you know?
The pumps, the
Hot water, the hydronic?
you'll actually remain 2 pumps in the
Will they be new pumps?
No, those are actually, the pumps are in good condition.
Are they variable frequency drive?
They'll be variable frequency drive, yes.
Okay, all right. Now, on the building envelope, are you talking windows, or what are you talking there?
Yes, excuse me. Commissioner Hansel, in the final scope of work, we actually list out the building envelope.
Okay, that's in
The scope.
Okay.
Yep, it's very detailed, it actually lists out, I mean, let's see, for the admin building, there's 2 single commercial doors to be weather stripped. Doors, one of them's gonna have a door sweep only, so it goes right through line by line what the scope of work will be.
Well, I was just thinking 16,000, that's, I'll look at it.
Yeah. Yep. And the cost there is really in wall roof joints. You have a lot of leaks in the building, actually outside of windows.
Yeah.
And that takes, I think it's 610 feet. Takes a lot of time to get in there and seal them. One note is, so that's this building energy saving will be 26% of the existing energy usage. Here would be reduced by 26% in this proposal.
The roof, 300,000. Is this a membrane roof, or is there a ballast roof?
Yep. This is original 1975 ballast roof.
So what are you proposing to do there?
We're going to strip it down, bring it up to current R30 energy code requirements, and put a membrane.
So we're doing away with the ballast?
Going away with ballast, yeah.
Good. Has the lighting technology changed that much? I'm going to guess it was maybe 8 years ago that we paid $70,000 or $80,000 to come through here and change all the lighting. And that's
so fluorescent lighting has a 7 to 8 year life cycle before it starts having where you look at replacing because of bulb replacement and ballast replacement requirements, maintenance. This is a LED technology which has an 18-20 year life expectancy.
But the technology has changed that much?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, it really is amazing. It's,
yeah, it is.
You know, in many cases, you're going from potentially a 100-watt fixture all the way down to 25. You know, so there's quite a bit of savings.
And there's a bigger savings once we get to the nursing home. It's 3 times this.
Yeah.
Right.
And it really is the life of
3 times
the
cost.
life of the product is that it really is, you know.
Yeah, those aren't LED lights up in the nursing home.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
It's all fluorescent.
It's all fluorescent. Wow. Didn't they have LEDs in?
No.
It wasn't cost effective. LEDs became really cost effective in about 2014 is when it really became a cost effective product. Now it's becoming the standard. I mean, between 2014 and now, you know, actually that's everybody's kind of talking. You know, moving into next year, LEDs will be the standard.
Now, in the roofing, there's not a lot of energy savings, but we need to redo it because it's at the end of its useful life.
How old is the roof?
1978.
Yeah, it's got rocks on it.
Yeah.
It's
We're lucky.
fortunate you haven't had problems.
Right.
So that's the administrative building. We have, all right, so Mountain View Community Center, there's 4 fins there. We look at lighting upgrades, your building automation improvements, an energy management system, building envelope, and humidifier installation.
Look at the building automation improvements, you know, the yearly savings.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
So, talk to us a little bit about your that system.
Sure.
I mean, we're spending close to $400,000 on that. What are we doing?
Want to give it an
Yep, so we're looking at a couple different things within the Mountain View community. One of the things is at the room level. For the occupants' rooms, there's a split system which is providing air conditioning, yet you have two sources of heating, and often they fight each other.
Yeah.
So the energy savings isn't even calculated based upon that, because that's not something we could physically measure in a timely manner. But we know there's going to be a lot of additional energy savings there. So we're going to be doing some adjustments within the room level so those systems cannot fight each other. So you're either dedicated heating or dedicated cooling. Another thing is going to be taking over the 11 rooftop units, which we've heard that there's been some scheduling issues and not a lot of flexibility there. So we're going to offer that. And then another major improvement that we're going to be doing is there's actually 3 or 4 different building automation systems within this campus right now. 4 if you count one little panel, but essentially we're taking all those systems and tying it into one system. So it's only going to be one system to own and maintain and to to actually be educated on. So there's going to be, there's no associated dollar savings with that, but that's actually going to save money for the long run as well. So we're looking at, at many different things, but within that facility, those are the high level things.
On a side note, this is one of the benefits of the fiber optic system that we installed. Being able to communicate between buildings, being able to do this.
Yep. And the system software is being all upgraded.
Correct. Yep.
And you'll have a BACnet system now too, which if you're not familiar, BACnet will be an open protocol system. So if, say, 5 years from now, you're, see you later Siemens, another company can come in and work on the system and integrate to it very easily. So.
But you're using all Siemens
parts, yep.
Parts, yeah, that's what elements is. But.
So, Bob, are you satisfied with that this is covering what we want to do at Mountain View?
Very much so. I've had a lot of input in this.
You have?
I have.
Great, okay.
And then at the annex building, we looked at lighting and building envelope, just a couple of things there.
And just so you know, the lighting just grew because of the lease, the Head Start lease. We incorporated the area that they're going to be leasing into this, which we hadn't before.
So what's the delta on before and after?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to, Eric's still getting the savings for me from EMC, but it'll be pretty substantial. I mean, again, you're going from those high-level watt fixtures down to 25 watts. So
Yeah,
okay.
I would have to say 100%.
Yeah.
Are you also going to put in the lighting in the area that the House of Corrections is going to be using?
Yes.
And in your offices? And in your offices, Jim?
Yes.
Which is a great segue to the Department of Corrections. So there we looked at lighting upgrades, building envelope, building automation, again, improvements. You can see there the savings actually outweighs the actual cost of the building automation.
The building envelope at the House of Corrections, is that the same problems here with cracks and things?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of scope for the Department of Corrections. Do you want to get into that a little number?
It's actually some uninsulated areas at the Department of Correction. There's 672 square foot of 4-inch insulation that's going to be added. A lot of ceiling, roof and wall joints. Actually I should say another 2,672 square feet of area that's going to be insulated. So it's a decent amount of cracks, but a decent amount of area that is actually not under-insulated at the Department of Correction also.
Was there any that just wasn't insulated?
There were some areas that wasn't insulated when the building was built, yes.
Were there any areas at the nursing home that weren't insulated?
No, the building, that's why you see that, no, the nursing home was an extremely well-built building. It's really, honestly, unfortunately, it seems like on the control side, they fell a little short there. That's what the opportunity, when so much energy saving from the controls upgrade there.
How old is the boiler that's in there now, do you know?
In this building?
Yeah.
20.
No, the corrections building.
Corrections, as old as the building is, 13, 14 years old, 15.
Yeah, boy,
Yeah,
boilers should
15
last
years old.
longer than that. When you say boiler replacement, what's, again, I know it's in the scope, but I'm just, it's on my mind now, what do we?
So these are new Beastman
Yeah.
condensing boilers, so a lot high efficient, a lot longer life. They truly put in the cheapest boiler they could put in over at the Department of Correction. And it's, you know, it's...
What is it?
They're RVIs, they're atmospheric, they're about the size of a car.
Yeah, so.
Didn't we replace one of those, isn't there two, and we replaced one already?
Not that I'm
No.
aware of. There are two. We spent a lot of
We just
money
put
on
it
them.
together, yeah, we were just patching it, trying to get to this point.
There was one about 3 years ago we changed.
Well, no, last year we were gonna do one in the annex, but we found a better way, but,
And you'll see, I mean, maintenance savings alone in the condensing boilers is much less than
oh, yeah.
what it would be for the atmosphere too. So.
And let's see, what is the air-cooled engines units?
Yeah, so we're gonna replace and move those, correct, as far as the...
Are you gonna move them?
Question?
When you were doing the annex,
Yes.
in your initial audit, did you look at the roof?
We did not, because we didn't know what was going to happen with that building there.
Maybe you
We
could have found
focus-
out for us.
We
Yeah,
focused,
that's what I'm thinking. If they were doing an audit, they could have done an audit for the roof.
we talked about this before, and we decided to focus only on the areas that we were occupying for lighting, and not even touch the boilers, because the boilers are 2007. They're only 11 years old there. But the roof, I don't think that we weren't looking at any building envelope at the annex.
When you say you
Very big
replace the
We
air-cooled condensing unit, are those the ones on the exterior of the roof that the snow keeps cleaning out, the ice keeps cleaning out?
This is, at the Department of Correction, these are the ones that sit in the yard area.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The snow, the ice comes off the roof,
There's,
cleans them out.
there's really two drivers for it. One is to get them out of the yard area so that they're going to be placed behind that fence that's on the other side, so they'll still be kind of hidden a little bit. The other thing is R22 is no longer manufactured. It's still sold, but basically when its price is increased, it's approximately 3 to 4 times, or almost heading 5 times the cost of the new refrigerant, refrigerant 410A there. So as with in past with other refrigerants, it'll get to where the cost will, some of it actually literally approaches the cost of silver and gold.
Well,
And then we also looked at installing VRF for the laundry and kitchen area as well. So as we look at everything totaling up, there's a development costs there with the Zigo is the software for the control system, and then it totals up to the total energy savings that we discussed in the preliminary audit. There's $160 more that we found, so it's $124,160. Project cost was, we talked about 3.4 million. I know it was a kind of a round number, but we're very close to that. 3.443, and then the incentives from Eversource, which those go directly to you, to Ken, to the team. So,
Would you explain those to us?
the incentives.
they were in the list.
Yeah, so those are. That's a good question. They have right now the incentives are strictly for lighting. There are some custom rebates right on where that we're going to look at for the boilers, but we didn't want to include those, as we didn't want to assume anything with rebates because they're so volatile sometimes. But we are going to apply for custom rebates, so there could be more money coming before we know. So,
For the boilers?
yeah, we don't want to commit to it right now because we're not sure.
So we submit application, or we take our energy savings, or we got these energy savings, and they pay for energy savings. Unfortunately, they don't have a set formula. They review our saving calculation. So they determine how much they're willing to pay for these energy savings. And secondly, in the state of New Hampshire, they pay until they run out. So if we don't get an application in the correct time, we get, the Carroll County gets no money. Currently, right now, they have money to pay for incentives, and we're actually starting the process already to determine exactly what that amount could be. That amount could easily approach $90,000, but like I said, we don't want to put it on until we get a confirmation from Eversource and a confirmation they have the money.
And they will do that before the project is finished?
Oh, we'll have it actually, we should have it in late July to know exactly what that dollar amount is. And then you get the money, we have inspections to make sure we obviously actually do the work. And then they, about 60 days once they do the inspection, the county will receive a check.
And then I put on the bottom, that's the annual contribution that we discussed from the preliminary report.
So that 122.5 is the new money every year for the next 17 years. So we're getting $3.5 million of work for just $2 million, basically.
Correct. Yep.
That's because of the savings?
Right.
Correct.
41%. 41% off of construction costs.
So the savings is not going to offset the construction cost?
Not 100%.
Not entirely, no. Because there's quite a few, if we look, obviously with the roofing and other infrastructure measures that we looked at. If you're going to go out like, just for a roof or just for controls or just for one thing, it could be a very obviously large sum of money that now you can look at, you can budget every year over 17 years and get that work completed.
So go back to the top. Yeah, so if you look at the roof, it's almost $300,000, but there's only $830 of savings there. But we have to get it done because it's after its useful life. So why come up with an extra, $300,000 when we can do the whole thing and get $1.5 million worth of work for basically for no new money? Yeah, that's it.
Energy usage-wise, it's going overall, it's going to average about 27% reduction in your energy usage.
Wow. And you will likely, as far as our energy savings calculations, they're conservative. So we anticipate, obviously, you'll see much better savings than what we anticipate.
Not only that, you're adding comfort in some places that don't have that comfort now. So you're saving energy but adding comfort as well.
Okay. Commissioner Hanson.
What might be helpful is go back down to the bottom line, if you could. Let's do something little just to explain the worth of this right now. Line 72, where it says this is what we would contribute over 17 years.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. What will it be costing us if we don't do this over the 17 years? All things being, no energy savings, we don't do the work. What's that going to cost us?
If you project it out, the total project is actually, the total cost of the project plus the cost of the money, depending on how it's basically just under $5 million.
Okay, but can I ask it this way? If we don't do this, then we don't make that annual contribution, correct? Because we're not doing it.
Correct.
But we will not realize the same amount in energy savings.
You'd be paying $124,000
more in energy.
Eversource and Eastern Propane.
Right, and we would be having these perfunctory systems that would aggravate us every time it's August and I hear the heat come on and the fins crackling, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So over a 17-year period, it's even. dollar-wise.
Right.
Correct.
But we have better systems, we're being better stewards, we have more assured longevity. We have something that's more manageable. It's, to me, it seems responsible. If it doesn't cost us any over the same period, then the upside is we're just doing things better. We're using technology and being mindful of energy consumption and going green and all that good stuff.
For the next 20 years, set us up.
Yeah.
Well, next 17, I want
Or 17,
I want to go in the numbers in front of us. Okay, so do we have the budget? Have we allocated, do we have this commitment to the budget? I mean,
No,
We don't need it this year.
yeah,
1.25, next year, it starts next year.
it starts next year,
Yeah.
so this,
Our
okay,
first
so,
payment
okay,
will be
good,
next
so, all right, so where does the delegation's involvement come on this one?
To fund the project. Sean's gonna come next Monday to talk a little bit about the project, maybe not, I don't know if we're gonna have time to do this whole presentation. But I think he should keep the delegation aware of where we're going. And, you know, to provide them at least this sheet here of some of the fins that we're doing and talk about some of the savings and, you know, what happens if we didn't do this. I mean, we haven't done a good job as far as capital improvements. I mean, we just started this year with a capital improvement plan. And doing it this way keeps the tax rate stabilized over the 17 years. And it continues to use our savings that we receive from replacing these things.
Sure, reduces maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
Unexpected maintenance.
This is actually capital improvement plan in reverse.
No.
So we have the money. But my question is, it's going to cost roughly 3.4 million to do all these upgrades. We're actually only going to pay a little over 2 million. So how long are these upgrades going to last? You're telling us we have to replace all the lights and they're only 8 or 10 years old, but this is a 17-year finance.
But you're going to a product, LEDs, that will have a 17-year life cycle.
And that's conservative too, that it could be potentially longer, but.
And that's just in this time. I mean, right, this is what we're saving now.
And you're going to boilers that are 30+ years. I mean,
that's huge.
You know, yes, instead of the cheaper steel, they're stainless steel, and
you're getting a roof that's.
Yes, you're getting a new roof with new insulation. It's going to have a 20 or 25-year warranty.
And this all comes with Siemens guarantee.
Yes, correct.
For 17 years.
Yes. If the controls aren't working and we're not meeting the energy savings, we're over here fixing it. If it's kicking on and upsetting you, you're calling us to fix it.
Right.
The other part too is if something happens during, you know, if we install a boiler and it's not working properly or something like that, we own that. You know what I mean? So it's not.
You know what? Say that again, I didn't hear what you said.
No, something, so if we're installing these new boilers or the control, something happens that is due to like the operation of the equipment or something's not working right, that's up to us to fix it.
Well, they're Siemens equipment, right?
No, just the controls, but like the boiler is a Beastman boiler, but Siemens is backing.
There's no change order. Once we get to a contract and agree upon the scope, that is how much, and then we get it financed, that is how much you're going to pay. We don't come back and say, oh, well, we found that there's no, you know.
There's 10 valves here that don't work. We're assuming that risk.
Yeah.
So if there's 20 valves here that don't work, we're replacing them, and you don't even, Bob will know about it, but.
You won't be asking for a check.
You won't be asking for any money. No.
Now, what about the regular maintenance on this, all of this? Is that going to be Siemens' responsibility?
That's up to you. I mean, that's something that you
We'll have
can
to maintain it
look
like
at.
we maintain any of our equipment.
we'll have to enter into, after the warranty is done, we'll have to enter into a service contract with someone.
Yep.
Preferably
Doesn't have to be us.
Siemens.
Doesn't have to be us, I mean, but we would definitely bid on it, or, right?
The agreement is that it's
We
maintained.
have Siemens contracts on several.
The jail and the nursing home,
Right.
currently.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
Are you, these are gonna be your vendors that are gonna do the construction?
Yes,
Correct.
everything will, yeah, Siemens will be the construction manager as well, so it'll always be us. We'll be the one point of contact. We're responsible for all those subcontractors.
Will they be local subcontractors?
We will try, right? I mean, it's,
Yeah,
a lot of them are local to New Hampshire.
They're mainly New Hampshire-based contractors, and all have local people. They're not particularly necessarily based out of in Carroll County, but they're all local contractors. In fact, they cover both Maine and New Hampshire areas.
So this contract is not for all the fins that you gave us. This is only for some of them, right?
We removed a couple fins, one like thermal solar, ended up not working. They're trying to make it work, didn't make sense. And another, so you're getting at least $90,000 that we're not using, that's your money to use. And like the well pump, really it's approaching its recommended replacement, but it really is until you have a few years, and that's pretty small money there. We're like, really kind of our recommendation is, do the stuff that really create energy savings, is larger infrastructure, get the $90,000 to $180,000, and I spend it on the, the other maintenance, smaller maintenance items that we listed there.
Okay, so the FIMs that you listed in the initial audit, some of them have been eliminated.
Yes.
And the water, the sewer, the solar, the facility usage evaluation?
We're going to still provide, that as we approach contracts.
Okay, so that one is, so it's basically 8, 9, 10 from the originals?
Yeah.
Are you replacing the pumps on the septic system that we continually had to replace over?
We're kind of recommending that, that's pretty small money there. What we really kind of, when we got to where a project ended up, is like I said, you're going to get $90,000 to $180,000. Really, we're recommending kind of taking that money and spending on those maintenance items there. Those are pretty small. I mean, if forced to put into this contract, I mean, like I said, it's a few $1,000s. We could, but it really is kind of, you're going to have
not big enough for you.
Yeah, it's really kind, to be honest, hire through a local electrician to replace them, and spending that $180,000 a better approach.
Where's that coming from?
That's coming from your incentives from Eversource.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, we know that if you move ahead with a project and they have the funding, which they have right now, you're getting at least $92,000.
Okay.
In the next few weeks, we'll know exactly what the dollar amount will be.
But there's no guarantee. And now, the other thing, on FIM 3, you had the security cameras and the card access. You're not doing that.
Correct.
The new fire alarm system?
We are still upgrading the fire alarm to meet the current.
You are going to do that. And the new Siemens front end?
Yep.
Can we turn the light back on?
Sure.
Now,
So next steps from here would be to look for approval for a final scope. So we put an RFP, work with Ken to get an RFP out for financing for the project. Review the RFP responses and finalize a contract when those comes back.
Is this the final scope? Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the final scope and I wanted to get, you
I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, you know, you flip and float and fly before we're
Well,
done.
he's on a cost savings on one.
Oh, geez, you know.
He's got the one on the
You
wall.
excited about the
In the middle of a motion, and he turns off the,
This is the presentation of
lunchtime.
the audit results.
Yes.
And I broke it.
well, okay,
We're
so
gonna find a new one.
it's in here, let me, I'm just gonna do that next step motion, whatever that needs to say.
I think we need a, is this the board workshop?
Yes.
The next step.
Procurement and financing
Is the next step, correct.
is the next.
Why do we move,
I wish I had those words in front of me, because I lost my train of, no, it isn't.
why do we move forward at this point? Doesn't the delegation have to approve?
If I had to read the motion, we could have the discussion.
We have a discussion without the motion, but it's just a question.
I'm just, I don't know.
Because I think the financing is the next thing, because I mean, we can say, oh yeah, that's wonderful, go ahead and start, but if we haven't got any money, you don't want to start.
Right. Yeah, we would like to obviously have your approval to move forward to, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the scope of work and the dollar amounts and send that out to the banks for RFP to bid on.
So you're gonna find the financing for us
Yeah.
at 0% interest.
I wish.
Do you have that?
I do.
That, let me just read it from the answer.
I think I really broke it.
Yeah.
So once you turn those off, I think
I heard them.
No, it's the very first page that you had.
from the presentation.
Ken, what's the procedure from here?
Make a vote to go
That's
forward
what I
with the
want to do,
delegation.
approve the issue of files
We
scope
come on
What does
Monday.
the delegation have to?
as an RFP for finance. That's what I want to.
Funding.
Does that work for you all?
They go out to look
Well,
at finance.
that's what it's saying.
No, let's leave it there.
Yeah,
We can look for financing and then go to the delegation, say, look, this is what we got, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But if I could, just so I can get back on track with the rest of you, because I'm off track, if I could make a motion, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion that we approve, we grant approval to the issuance of the final scope as an RFP for financing.
Second.
Turn it off now.
It don't matter.
Okay,
I mean-
so you're going to,
What you heard.
Because I can't see.
Oh,
It's
so
in
it's
my
right in
eye.
your eyes? Oh, okay, all right. I'm sorry.
so we're going to approve
The scope of work.
the audit results for an RFP for financing. And
That's the next step.
for Siemens to do that. Siemens is going to find the financing.
Well, when I say final scope, I mean the final scope. RFP for financing means RFP for financing. I don't want to overburden the words. Final scope is this final scope, not someone else's.
Cheryl, would you read that back to me, please? I missed.
Sure. Commissioner House, a motion to approve the final scope of work and issue an RFP for financing, seconded by Commissioner Babson.
But I think he wanted to use this as a basis for the RFP for financing.
That's what this does.
Is that what you said?
That's what this does. By approving this scope, then we're also saying, now, we need an RFP for financing. So what we're saying is, yeah, this is the work we want to have done. Now, how are we going to pay for it? That's another way of putting the motion. What we're buying into is the scope. What we're not determining is how we're going to finance it. Logical next step. Sounds like an engineer might have come up with it.
Somehow, I think we ought to put in there that Siemens is going to find the financing. Not us.
Or it's an RFP for finance.
Yeah, we have a Siemens Financial Services that'll work with
Oh, you're saying that Siemens will do it now, I see.
They're doing it, they're gonna
Okay.
do it for us, we
Right.
don't have to do it.
Can I, well, so we can create the RFP, technically it has to be sent out by the county, just to clarify.
Sure.
Because we cannot
We don't wanna do
influence,
Right.
because.
You can help us prepare the RFP.
Because the Siemens Financial Division will bid on it, we can't
Right,
be seen as giving them any special,
right,
you know.
right. So we issue the RFP, not Siemens.
You're right.
Well,
They help us prepare it. They help us prepare it. We write it. We're the authors.
That has to be for our approval and for the delegation's approval?
What are you asking me?
The RFP for the financing.
We just, no, the delegation just approves the financing, they don't approve, you know, who we go with.
That's up to us. They approve the finance.
So once we have the results of the RFP, we can take it to the delegation for their approval?
Yeah.
I'm just confused, just the proper procedure here. So,
But the more we make them aware of what we're doing, keeping them in the loop, the easier it will be for everyone to understand what we're doing.
but we won't have an RFP for them for Tuesday?
Oh, no.
Monday.
Oh, no, this is down the road.
All right.
would you like to know a time frame?
Yeah.
Would you like to know a
Yes.
time frame? So.
In writing, please?
Sure, I can. So upon approval, we can, we'll work with Ken as far as developing the RFP itself, and then it'll be sent out to banks that you typically like to give them 2 to 3 weeks to respond. And then from there, you can, obviously, you'll receive the bids from there, and you can select who you'd like. So it's not, it's within a month, potentially.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we'll
so
bring the
we don't have to put
bill
it,
open it.
we don't have
30
to
to
put a
45
time frame
days.
on it, just do it.
Just so you know, it's not months and months, but 30 to 45 days.
The original one you gave me was January 22nd.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry. Okay, so you want to read that all back now so we can vote on it. Is there any more discussion? No, okay.
Commissioner Arnold's a motion to approve the final scope of work and issue an RFP for financing, seconded by Commissioner Babson.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Don't dilly down.
All right, guys. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, good job.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
grab my Coca-Cola bottle, and get a runner rolling forward. Came off the table and I didn't see him go over there, but moving forward.
There you go, sir. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you for your time and patience. Appreciate it.
The things that you decided not to put in here, do you have, or can we get an explanation as to why?
Absolutely,
I appreciate that very much.
We can do a scope for you too, so you can, so it'll help Bob out from that standpoint.
Right, the sewer and pumps and stuff
Yep.
particularly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ed, is that your bag?
It is not.
Did one of you fellas leave a bag there?
That's ours, yes, thank you.
It's all their money.
It's our projector. In case
Oh.
Ken broke this one.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Okay, Hale's location checks and documents.
Nothing, except I received something for the planning board of Hales, but it's, somebody wants to build a house, I don't know, or install a new septic system. It came here instead of going to Hales, so I'm gonna send it back up to Kathy. So other than that,
Is there a planning board in Hale?
I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
Good chairman, aren't you?
No.
Oh, Hale?
I'm not sure.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
The checks are made out to Carroll County, not Hale, so I need to send it back to Kathy. The sheriff's here, he came after, we talked after I had done the agenda, so he needs to be on it next.
Well, we're always happy to see the sheriff.
Oh, I thought he was in
He doesn't-
non-public. I'm
no.
so sorry,
He doesn't have
Dominic.
to have an appointment.
Just on, he has a gun. So is that.
So do I, just don't have it here today.
All on tape.
Yes, sir.
Coming to you about the cruisers. We were ordering 2 new cruisers that went through the budget this year. And when we finally got the paperwork from Ford Motor Credit, which is who we've been using over the years, they jumped up their rate to 6.5%.
Wow.
From a 3.9 something. Called them on it, and they said, no, that's what it is. Told them I'd probably be looking into financing somewhere else, and they said, well, we hate to see you do that, but do what you have to do. So, I contacted some of the local banks, and in the end, the TD Bank, or Bank of New Hampshire, came in at 3.19% on a 3-year note. We typically do a 4-payment, 4-year note, annual payments. Bank of New Hampshire is willing to do 3.19 with 3 annual payments, which is not common for a regular bank to do, so that's good. And in the end, we should save about $3,448 in financing from what we were doing with Ford Motor Credit. And that was before the rate hike.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Is this going to be all right in your budget, the 3 payments instead of 4?
No.
That's why we're here.
Right, that's why I figured you were here.
So what was budgeted was $14,000 for the 4 annual payments, or the first year of it. The annual payment cost is going to be $17,749, which is a deficit of $30,749. My suggestion, I guess, if I'm hopeful, we could take it out of the vehicle expense line from the sheriff's budget. As long as gas kind of levels off here and doesn't keep going over $3 or something like that.
David, comment?
I don't know, question.
Yes.
At what point do we consider owning these cars?
I think it's a good subject for next year's budget. We have tossed it around over a few years of budgets.
Are we precluded from talking about it this year?
For this year's budget?
Or would we have to transfer funds?
Yeah, you would definitely have to transfer funds, because you're talking a total of $51,458 for 2 cruises.
Do we have the money if we were to purchase it and we could transfer the money? Do we have it to pay for it, or we have to go looking for money?
I don't have it, and I'm not sure.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't have that. So, and I'm not sure, I know that capital funding is a new topic and new project, so again, I think it would be best handled into next year's budget. Because again, any delay delays these cruises further than what we've already done, but.
So
we didn't
what would be
expect
the
Ford Motor
savings
Credit.
if we purchased it this year?
You would save.
A third of
the finance charge, I think it's only about $2,600 is what we'll be paying about a finance charge.
Over the 3 years?
For these, right, for these two cruises. we were paying $5,500 to Ford Motor Credit over the 4 years. So in 5 years, well, in 5 years, yes, you typically would have saved enough money to buy one cruiser.
What is the downside of owning them?
Nothing, in the end, you own them anyways, so there is no downside, it's just a yearly hit on a budget as far as a bigger number than the lease payment.
Well, it's a bigger hit for the year you buy it, not for the other 2 years. It's a less of a hit on the 2 years that you don't buy it.
In the future, once the leases wash out of the budget, then you're buying them annually.
So there's no...
There should be no waive at all because your total of your leases are $60,000 to $70,000 a year. So, in the end, it will work itself out where it's a better savings, basically.
I would think that in Monday's meeting, we might ask the chairman of the delegation if they would consider working with us and buying these cars outright. I mean, why spend $3,000 that you don't need to spend to flatten out the tax rate?
And that's beyond my call. Again, I mean, you're only looking at about $2,600 this 1 year, and I think it would be better solved next year.
Yeah, but Sheriff, it isn't only, it's $2,600.
Right, but you were planning on $5,500. If Ford Motor Credit never changed their rate, you would have paid $5,500.
I think we'd be better off with Chairman Bevard's philosophy on automobiles. We run them a little bit, we own them and run them a little bit.
Mark, you have a comment?
I have a couple of questions. The first one I want to ask is, if I'm hearing everything right, you have, under vehicle lease and purchase, you have $63,000 budgeted, and under expenses you have $70,000. You're about $14,000 short on the 63 on the purchase. Is that what?
No, of that 63, 14 was for these two cruises.
And you need how much?
And we only need 3,700 and, no, $3,749. The payment will be $17,749 if we do the 3 lease payments.
Excuse me, Mark, what page are you on?
It's in
Three.
Page 3.
Page 3?
It's line 072 and 073.
Oh, got it, okay.
See, I don't know how best to get there, but I agree with Commissioner Babson. You know, if we weren't sitting on a sizable fund balance, we'd have to borrow money. But I would like to think that there's a way that we can, and I know we would need the delegation, that we would see an opportunity to save $2,600, because it isn't only $2,600, it's $2,600. And if there was a way that we could do that, I'd like to be able to do that. But short of doing that, you know, I don't want to hold up your cycle of purchases in and out. But I do like to think that we can take advantage of the opportunity of using surplus money to save on interest expense.
If we bought the 2 cars this year outright, we would save more than $2,600.
No, because that's the finance charge that Bank of New Hampshire is presenting us.
For the full 3 years?
For the full 3 years.
For both cars?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was 1 year, 1 car.
No.
Okay.
But see, we're borrowing money when we don't need to, I would think. You know, I don't know, maybe we're not in a position where, that's right, I mean.
And I totally agree with $2,600 is $2,600. We'd all love to have $2,600 in our pocket. But I think this budget cycle brought us to a point where we had a plan I know the representative is a promoter of capital funding, and I'm sure that that road in the future should be gone down for cruises. Talking with other counties, 50 to maybe a little more than that % do buy their cruises outright, and some do the lease to own. But again, I think we need to go down that road. I just don't think this moment in the middle of a budget is the time to do that.
Sheriff, I'm gonna go along with you, it's your department, and, you know, you're not a spendthrift by any means.
I saved you money.
Yeah, you did, off the budget. It's just an opportunity to save further money, but I'll go along with you that this isn't the time to do that. But you do see the opportunity that we might have for next budget cycle. So I'm inclined to just go ahead and what you want.
The sheriff and I did talk about this on Monday afternoon when he brought this to me, and we had many different scenarios. And we are gonna look at putting monies into the budget to purchase them. Because you're right, why are we paying interest? I mean, I don't get that.
Well, we would if we didn't have the money.
Right.
But we do have the money, and I think next year we'll have even more money.
Yes, sir.
From the way things are looking in the reports. We don't know that yet. So what is it you need?
I mean, I
transfer.
The other loan offer they did was for a 4-year payment at 100%, which was 3.27, which is a payment of $13,537, which is under the budgeted amount. So that's a thought out there too, but you are paying that little extra in interest, so I was pretty pleased with the 3.19, 3-year. You own them a year sooner, you're saving money.
Is there any prepayment penalties?
No. I believe I already signed those contracts to rent these cars, to lease these cars.
No.
That was for last year.
You signed something.
Yeah, because we don't
That's
have
for
to
the
pay
jail.
for it.
Oh, okay,
I
it's
get
last
it. I get an idea.
year. Yes.
If we can get an early buyout on these,
We can save it.
next year, we could actually budget to pay off these loans perhaps, and save, maybe not the full 2,500, but
half of it.
A third
A
of
little
it.
more, yeah.
You know, we could look at that as an option. With the early buyout, it actually, you know, payoffs, if we do an early payoffs without penalty, if that's part of the deal, then it sounds like the best path to take.
So how much you need to transfer? 3,400, 3,500?
3,000.
$448.
$3,749.
Do you have the forms ready to?
No, I don't.
No.
700 and what?
49.
When do you need this decision?
I just need the approval to move forward with the application process for the bank.
And on Monday, I need to present this to the transfer committee along with the other two.
But don't we have to sign first?
Yeah, I can bring that up to you. It'll only take me a couple minutes.
Or we can do it tomorrow afternoon,
Oh, yeah.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, we could do it then.
Yeah, so I forgot about tomorrow.
So do you need a motion?
I would need a motion from the commissioners to accept this process and the amounts, so that the bank can say that it was voted on.
Even though it takes the delegation to really finalize this. Yeah, okay, I'll so moved. You don't know what so moved is.
She wrote down so moved.
I make a motion that we approve the transfer of $3,500 from vehicle expenses to vehicle leases in the sheriff's budget.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded? I'll second for discussion.
If I may, I mean, actually, I don't need the transfer, because that's a process that you have to do anyways, right? That's,
It has to be approved by them to go to the
I
delegation.
need the approval that you're accepting this proposal by the bank, basically,
Are you gonna pay for it?
that you will move forward to the process you have to do.
Well, we did, but the motion that's in front of us is how we move forward. If we vote for it, I'm wondering, I want to hear from Commissioner Babson, though, because
David?
Yeah, Dominic, as you know, I think you do a fantastic job. I just disagree with you on the financial sense of this. For the little effort it would take, I think, to get the money from the delegation. So it's not a reflection on you or the good job you've done, but I'm gonna vote against it because I think we ought to save the money now if we have the opportunity.
If I may, I mean, I may be out of line here or incorrect, that I think you can still propose that to the delegation on July 2nd. This will give you two options, basically, to present to them.
I appreciate the guidance, but I'll be voting no.
You know, actually, if I might,
Yes.
I'm gonna vote for this because I think we need to do that, but there's no reason that we can have a subsequent vote saying that we asked the delegation to consider Commissioner Babson's approach. So then they can decide which way they wanna go.
I will second that.
Right, so,
We have a financial problem, though. I think we need money
Yeah,
to do this.
where do you propose we get the 30,000, 34 to 35,000 to do that?
delegation.
Like, but they're gonna ask us where?
From
Where's it coming from?
From the surplus.
Oh,
They're pretty clever. If they wanna do it, there's a way to do it,
Okay.
but we can only go as far as we can go.
Yeah.
And I think it's to the benefit of all of us, including the delegation, to have options. We're saying okay with the transfer, but we think you might consider the opportunity to save interest money by buying them outright. That is a delegation's discussion and decision, but at least they have two options at that point. If they decide they don't want to buy them outright, then they can do the transfer. Or they could say, no, we're not even going to do the transfer. I don't think that would happen, but they may want to look at this and say, okay, we can save the taxpayers money if we do this, but it may not be, you know, they have their set of lenses that they have to look through.
Yeah.
We need to respect that. So I think it's a good move for us to give both options to the delegation.
And they can, I believe, take money out of the surplus.
right, but I've been here for 3 years, and I know they're gonna ask me, where do you want it to come from? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they always ask.
Well, can you say the surplus?
Yeah, I could, like, I'm gonna say for the, you know, for the union raises, that's gotta come out of surplus.
Or supplemental budget
Yeah.
if they're so inclined, if they are inclined. I don't know. See, the thing is that's their bailiwick. We should just give them options. I would prefer Commissioner Babson's option. I would prefer that they would find a way to use money we currently have instead of borrowing money. I would prefer that. But I would respect that they have other things that they have to weigh to get to that point. So we'll send them both options.
And I would like to have the dollars and cents figures when we give them those options, as to just how much they're actually going to save.
And I'll actually throw the 4-year one in there too, because if they deny either, then that's where I'm going. That's what's gonna happen.
But that's already in your budget. You're all set with
Yeah.
that.
So do we have a motion that we voted on?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay.
Aye or no, whatever you say, I'm voting against.
Now, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that the commissioners, together with the sheriff, ask the delegation to consider using surplus money or a supplemental budget, whichever they prefer, to purchase the cruisers outright.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. now, do we wait on instructing the sheriff as to which way to pursue?
That'll be decided Tuesday, Monday.
We have to.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yellow folder?
Nothing.
Nothing. Administrator updates.
First quarter review in your packet.
Is Kathy coming up?
I haven't had a whole lot of time to really look at this, but I did look, Madam Chairman, at some of the revenues. And knowing that it's just the first quarter, I'm not overly concerned, but I'm just wondering, as I look at, for example, the sheriff's, the first thing caught my eye was writ fees. For the year, we have $80,000, and we've only, in the first quarter, which is 25% of the year, we've done 9%. I'm going to go on down through special details.
Excuse me, Mark?
Yes, I'm sorry.
On the sheriff?
Front page.
On
Front page.
revenue.
Revenue.
I got revenue.
Okay.
Second.
What's the sheriff over here?
Those are grants.
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, okay.
So anyways, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just seeing that, and it's probably,
I can, if you want me to explain, I can.
sure,
yeah. As much as I can. Their billing, I believe, was behind a little bit because they had an employee who was, who had surgery. So we got it in April by the time it all came in. It was in the second quarter.
Okay.
So I believe the second quarter will bring it back up to 50.
Oh, okay, all right.
Or
So
pretty darn close.
all right, so I'm just gonna skip all that stuff then,
Yep.
out of the sheriff's. So we're looking at registry of deeds income.
Yep.
Recording fees, and this speaks
Yeah,
to
I don't know.
19%.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't seem to jibe with
With what she was showing
with
us.
the reports
Right,
that we get.
right.
You know, I'm kind of curious about that. You know, the total registry of deeds income, as it's posted in the first quarter, is only 19%. And again, I could paw through here to find it, but that's not what we've been showed.
Right.
So,
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. And I hadn't get down far enough to comment any further, but I'm going to spend some time with that, because that one surprises me, the registry.
And when I started this morning, I went in to look, and I don't know what happened. I really don't know what those numbers represent. I mean, she said we were 10% over each month, so I'm not sure what.
But we're 19% under, I mean, 19%.
6% under.
6% under what we would.
But you know, if you notice that the borders over at the jail,
I was gonna ask about that.
yeah, they're off too.
Is that because
But that's only January.
the runner inmates don't?
Yes.
We don't get paid right away?
That's only January, February. March didn't come in until April.
Okay.
So second quarter.
So you
That's
got
when
that
you receive it, right.
So actually, the second quarter report is more telling than the first quarter report.
Should be, yeah.
About how the year's going.
Unless they are late paying that as well.
Can you inquire of the registry why her report and this report don't agree? And I haven't had time.
Any questions on expenses?
I haven't had time.
If you look down.
Do you see anything here?
Just the elected officials are a little bit over because of that one extra payment we had. In January, we had three checks instead of 2. So that's gonna reflect in the first quarter. And of course, you know, we pay our workers' compensation up front and our unemployment up front, so that's 100% spent. Everything else, you'll notice that on page 2, 4111, in the victim witness grant, you'll notice that the Social Security and the retirement is at 33% and 34%. That's because the grant doesn't have that in it. All the grant money is charged into this line, so that'll make it a little bit bigger. The registry looks good. As far as expenses.
You just skipped the attorney. I just want to ask a question because attorney travel expense, $3,000 allocated, $239 spent in the first quarter. I'm wondering because there's been some issues around the attorney's travel account, and I'm just.
It's actually $438 spent in the first quarter. The $239
Oh, I'm sorry.
is the last month.
Okay, all right. Thank you. 438.
But again, if they turn in their slips late, it won't show in the first quarter. It'll show in the second quarter.
Okay. I'd like to know where we're at on that expense at some point soon, even if it isn't the end of the report.
Sure.
Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'll email it to you this afternoon.
Okay.
Or I can let you guys know tomorrow. I keep forgetting we're having a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
What is interesting though, in the nursing home revenue, that we're doing pretty well on the physical therapy side. And also in the Medicaid room and board, we're at 23%. Last year, I believe, we were at 19%. So the revenue in nursing home is coming in pretty strongly, which is, I feel good about that. We get our next pro-share payment on tomorrow.
Oh, is that the one?
Yeah, the 1.5, and that.
We don't have to send that back.
Not if you don't want to.
No, we're not. I don't want to.
So, at least the 1.2 is 1.3 is ours.
No, the 1.5 is ours.
Okay, well, 1.5 is ours.
Can you find out any more information on that?
No,
No.
nothing.
I think they were on a fishing expedition to see how many people say, yeah, we'll send it back.
Well, all the county administrators have been emailing each other because we're getting different information. And and I remember going to the meeting and they said ProShare wasn't a part of the
That wasn't part of the whole
IDA
thing.
funding. It was totally separate. But now, I mean, I guess we'll find out more on Monday when Commissioner Myers is here, but I don't see how they can.
What's the agenda? I know it's the delegations meeting, but when's Commissioner Myers speak?
9 o'clock.
And how long do you think he's going to be?
I've been watching a couple of his, 20, 30 minutes.
About a half hour, so 9:30 to go into the rest of the agenda.
Right.
Have they posted an agenda or is that?
No, I still haven't, I'm gonna send them the first quarters today, because I just got them this morning, and,
They have to post a week in advance?
no, 7 days,
That's
That's a week in advance.
the meeting, yeah.
All right, so the meeting is Monday?
Yep.
Have they posted?
Oh, yeah, it was posted last week.
Okay.
So overall, I mean, we're doing pretty well. The nursing home administration's at 27% overall, but that's because, we pay the retirement, the workers' comp and the unemployment up front, and that's almost $200,000. Overtime in nursing is 36%. Agencies at 18%. But if you look at the jail agency, I believe it's at 41%. Jail agency, 43% on the jail agency.
But not a lot of these numbers are at 25%, so.
No, and that's a good thing.
Now, Ken, you said that the salary for elected officials was because of the 3 checks in January instead of 2?
Right, so.
Now, what
you
about
gotta-
everybody else? Did they get 3 checks in January also?
Yes.
So that is going to affect their salaries?
Well, because yours is fixed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, if you get $900 more in the first quarter, it'll show up differently. So, because if you look at,
So what
look
about
at the commissioner's salary and our salary is at 25, yours is at 26. You look at the treasurer, he's at 26. Look at the attorney, she's at 26, and her staff's at 25. And that, on the registered deed, hers is at 26, and the regular people are at 25.
So, okay.
So it just affects it, you know.
And salary people like you were all set?
Yeah, because I'm enrolled in with everyone.
Ken, how did I get a salary of $11,549.78? We didn't get a 3% raise with, our salary is set in May.
Yours is more than theirs.
Right, but why isn't it a round number? It was, I thought, we didn't, I don't believe the delegation voted on 11,549.78. My guess is they voted on 11,5.
Hold on, let me see what you're doing.
Well, he's got a separate piece of paper. You probably should take that to Kathy. Kathy's the one that made that. She'll probably be able to explain it.
Right, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, Ken was here when they voted, and we don't vote, you've been here 2 years now, we don't vote for salaries based on pennies in the cent column. It's all a round figure.
I don't know.
I don't know what that is, but over on this, I don't know.
No, it's
He's got another sheet.
Oh.
The one I left on your desk.
Oh, which I haven't been in my office.
Like here, it's $8,166.22.
And that's, Mark and I get the same. And all the rest goes to Mr. Babson.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well, to divide $1 by 3, what do you get?
33 and a third. I can do that.
33, okay, divided by 100.
Well, wait a minute, you don't even know what you're
No,
asking for the math problem.
No, he's looking at a different sheet of paper than you are. You're the only one that has that piece of paper.
Okay, there's the sheet of paper. Tell me when, as a commissioner, you've heard them vote, the delegation vote for anybody's salary that comes out to $49.78 in the last 4 figures. They're all round, they're all...
Isn't that a final, I see.
That's
You're talking about your total.
If they had continued the way they were going, that was what I would have gotten.
I don't know, you'll have to ask Kathy.
Okay.
I didn't look at your paper. I started writing on Mark's because I thought it was mine.
Then they gave it to Ken when they were all done, and he rounded it up 6 cents to make it even.
Well,
Ken likes to round things, that's fine.
He likes to round it up.
Okay, anything else on the administrator update?
no.
Commissioner updates. Mr. Babson?
Oh, I do have one more, sorry. I went to my training yesterday. I have my certificate, 5 hours. Just want to show you.
What did you learn? What was it on?
Conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution
through effective communication.
Right.
And he was successfully.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I would like to know the answer to what Mr. Babson, what was the one main thing you learned?
To, that not everyone's going to agree. People see things differently. And it's okay to, and some people a lot of people give up things in order to get something. I mean, you really have to do that. I may give up something, and we may both want something. I give up something, you give up something, to kind of reach in the middle. But do we really have to do that? What's called compromising. But compromising, do you lose anything when you compromise?
Yes.
And should you? Why?
Well, if you compromise, you're giving up part of your view to get, to work out a resolution with the other person.
But is that necessary?
Apparently not, so how is it
Tell
that
us,
it's
tell
not?
us, yeah, tell us how, why not?
Elucidate, my man.
Because we all see things differently. And just because you compromise with your wife, well, I know you're not married, but if you're married, and marriage, they always say, is a compromise. But, I mean, like, say your husband and wife want to go to the movies one night, and you guys don't agree on what you want to see. So you either have to say, well, let's see something else that we both don't want to see, or I go to this movie and you go to that movie.
Yeah, here's your $13, go watch it.
No, you got to pay me. So you don't have to give up things just to get what you want.
If the parties are willing to communicate.
Right.
And if they're not willing to communicate, then you have to compromise or have conflict.
Conflict.
So the key is being able to sit down with people and communicate until you both agree that this is what you both want and you're not giving up anything.
That's true.
If you can sit there long enough to put up with all the stuff that comes with the communication.
Well, and that's it.
That's
it. There's a lot of gossip, rumoring, and that's what tears down an organization.
Agreeing to disagree is perfectly all right.
Absolutely.
Because both people maintain their wants and go forward.
And you don't always have to win, you know? I mean, and sometimes you have to do what you're told. And whether you like it or not, oh well. But that's just the way it is.
But you can tell that person, I'm
Sure.
not happy with this. I will go watch your love movie, but I'm not happy with it.
Right. So it was interesting, you know, we broke up into groups and all that same stuff. And it's interesting that they give us a NASA test, and I had to work with 6 different people that I had never met before. And you crash landed on the moon, and you have 15 items that you can only bring with you on the spaceship. Oxygen, water, food, rope, parachute, raft, first aid kit, gun, matches.
What do you do with a parachute on the moon?
I got to carry all that stuff. You know, there's no weight on the moon, so you can put all the stuff in a parachute and tie it to a rope. But you had to put them all in order. Which would you take first, and all the way down to 15. And of course, matches were the last because they don't work on the moon because there's no oxygen. They had flares, signal flares, a map, a compass, a .45 caliber pistol. But it was interesting how people rated them and as their importance and why they did.
How many of everyone had oxygen first?
No, someone had a raft first.
A raft?
Yep, to put everything in.
Right.
That would have been my...
But you have no oxygen, so why would you check the raft first? You know, everyone else put oxygen except for the group 3.
How about a milk bottle?
Group 3, that must have been Coos County.
No, it was different people from all over. Firemen and...
Huh.
Oxygen is very heavy, though.
You have to have it to breathe.
Okay, so.
See, and that's what's good, because when you get into situations like that with those different people that you don't know, you come up, you hear other people's perspectives.
Right.
Very nice. Any other administrative updates? Okay, commissioner updates.
Mark, any?
Mark, you have a commissioner update?
I've been looking in the paper for the notice that the reports, annual reports are online. I haven't seen those notices yet.
They'll probably fail to do it. And we'll go into it after this, but we will get it in as soon as we can.
Well, I hope so, because last week we asked it would be in,
Yep.
and we had Representative Cordelli coming in with a confused perspective that we are providing the reports and that we're not printing them. Well, we are going to print them, we just just haven't had the time to do it, but one of the things that we did to offset that tardiness is authorize the issuance that these are available online. I'd like to see that done.
Yes, sir.
They are online.
Yes, they are
With
online.
the notice,
But
to
he wants
tell
the notice
people
in
it's
the paper.
online. We voted that last week.
Yes, we did. Anything else?
That's all I have.
David?
Yes, if the commissioners would indulge me, I'd like to read Barbara Stay's letter about Mountain View nurses need a raise that was in the Conway Daily Sun yesterday. I think she hits it right on the money. I had a conversation with her for about 45 minutes. Her husband is a resident over there. She's an incredible advocate for Mountain View community, and she requested that I read this letter if you people would allow me.
I have no objection.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I think.
To the editor, it's the wages, stupid. Raise wages at Mountain View Community, our county nursing and rehabilitation home. In the May 30 issue of the Conway Daily Sun, Damon Steer wrote that the Mountain View Community Nursing Home had, and for some reason the ad prints over it. She goes on to say that we pay $24 an hour, creating a huge problem because, and we're filling them with agency personnel that get $55 to $85 an hour. Does anyone else see any easy answer? We have the finest county facility in the state. If you had not seen it, go visit it at the Carroll County Complex in Ossipee. Maybe buy a lunch at the cafe, which serves a customary, tasty, and inexpensive meal to the public, and eat it in the great room filled with light. This is the same kitchen that feeds the residents wholesome and delicious meals. Start making some noise to your representatives about the low wage scale at our facility. By 2020, 1 in 5 New Hampshire residents will be 65 years or older. We need to get ahead of the aging curve and hire top quality nursing staff to our county home now. A competitive wage is a necessity to make this happen. Pay them what they are worth. Let me reiterate, this is our facility. Our loved ones who need this service reside there. You and I may need to reside there one day. The staff is dedicated, caring, knowledgeable, and loyal to Mountain View. We, as taxpayers, need to speak out for those that care for our friends and loved ones who reside in Mountain View. I would hope to see more letters to the editor each week asking for the county commissioners to increase wages for all Mountain View. It's our money, they work for us, make our voices heard, make this a priority, support our staff at Mountain View by demanding an increase to their wages. I think that's a pretty accurate and provoking letter.
Thank you for reading that.
I had a nice conversation with her.
Yes, sir.
I think it's encouraging that people are voicing themselves in such manner and so accurately. But I would like to point out that the commissioners have ratified a contract at the nursing home that achieves some of this. And so the delegation will be dealing with us on their meeting on next Monday. And hopefully that they will have read this letter as well. We do have an opportunity, once this is a one-year contract, we need to enter into negotiation for another contract right behind it, and I think wages have to be addressed as we have spoken about. But I would hope the delegation has read that letter and given some thought to it, and will vote to ratify and fund, the contract that we've ratified.
I told her all that. I didn't want to get into the discussion, but I told her that, and I told her that we had basically supported increased wages.
Yes, sir.
I know that Representative Nelson came up and met with Howie the other day about this. So Howie said that they had a nice meeting. So.
Very nice. Okay, anything else?
Yes, we apparently had an opportunity to have a couple of traveling nurses or agency nurses or whatever their technical name is. But one of them backed out because they couldn't find any housing. I know of a place that's for rent, would be ideal, but I think that we have to, as a board, have to sit back and figure out what we'd be willing to pay if we entered into or if we wanted to enter into a contract with the individual that owns the home, and if they were interested in renting it out, they'll be gone for 9 months, so it would be available to use for that period.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
No pumpkins?
Here is the contract for Hale's location that we've got to do something with.
What's your recommendation?
We're going to sign it. We'll sign it.
Okay.
Better look at it, make sure it's...
Well, I bow to your intelligence on this since you're their person in charge of the school. Has this been signed by them?
You need to take a vote on signing it.
It hasn't been signed by them.
I'm recused.
It hasn't been signed by Freiburg Academy.
Okay, well, we'll have to send it back and ask them to sign it first.
Okay, anything else? Okay, last week the commissioners asked me to put a letter, several letters together about the biomass, Bill 336,
433, wasn't it? 35?
65. Anyways, I have one to the governor, almost finished. I have one to the representatives that voted in favor of it originally. And
Madam Chairman, you're doing much more than what we
well,
voted.
you had asked to individualize the letters to the representatives.
And CC the governor. I don't know, it's just, okay, whatever.
So you did not want one to the governor?
He's not, the people who vote on it is the general court.
And they were going to, we were
As a
pressing
courtesy,
them to overturn the governor's signature, so why would you write the governor? You would write Mark, you'd write the legislators who have to vote to overturn it.
Okay, but what I did was I individualized those that were in favor of it originally and those that had written against it.
See, that's the thing, it's don't lump it, don't divide them that way. It's part of the process. They have to vote again. Don't assume anything. You know, just write to all of them and just say, we hope that you will vote to override.
The same letter to all three?
I would, yeah, and just to all of them and just say, we encourage you
Via
to
the commissioner's support for you voting to override the governor's veto on whichever the correct.
And not make any, determination of how members of the general court feel, because, they have the right to look at it as they look at it, but.
And a separate letter to Jeb Bradley?
No, he's part of the general court as well. The general court is both the Senate and the House. So you could address it to members of the Carroll County, members of the general court from Carroll County. I wouldn't even say the delegation, because Jeb Bradley is not a member of the delegation. But they're all members of the general court from Carroll County. I don't know when they're going to vote on veto messages. Usually that's a session day. is when it's,
Do you know when that is?
I don't know the exact date, I'm sure it's somewhere in September.
usually they do vetoes in,
June or August, July or
no,
August.
no, they usually vote on sustaining or override in September's.
Yeah,
Correct.
I believe that's the usual case.
I thought it was August, but you're right, it's September.
So I have a day or two to write that one.
Oh, yeah, you got time, we should get it out there so everyone knows how we feel. Which they probably know by now anyway.
I didn't bring it up when they were talking about the propane, but that's gonna affect the price of pellets too.
It affects a lot of things. I'm talking to house builders, and when they clear a lot, some of those costs are absorbed because they can chip the wood.
Right.
And so this will actually affect residential building costs or construction costs. I don't know to what degree, but every little bit adds up. And, you know, the idea that, and don't get me wrong, I'm not critical of Joe, I think he's doing a great job. And on this issue, when he says we're subsidizing, well, we subsidize oil, we subsidize nuclear, we subsidize gas for energy. We subsidize, that's what we do in government. Whether we should or not is a different issue. To pick out this fuel as one that we won't subsidize is, you know, I think it isn't consistent. If you're not going to subsidize, don't subsidize anyone, but that's going to really, that would affect things. I hope the general court understands the full impact. I've heard, I haven't checked it out, but I've heard that they've already stopped ordering at Tamworth and that they're beginning layoffs. And, you know, so these are real jobs that are affecting real people. And I just hope the general court considers that.
I called for ash for my fields, and I was told it would be at least probably 2 months, and then I probably wouldn't get it if the plants shut down. So that's right away a big expense to me as a little farmer. They've spread ash over 30,000 acres last year, so I'm sure that's a hit. Plus, I talked to a small logger who was doing just what you were saying, was clearing a lot, and the reason he has a chipper because part of the lot clearing business is now to clean up the brush and things. If he can't take his chips to Tamworth, he has no use for that chipper, of which he's still paying payments, and the market for used chippers is no longer there because there's no market unless they haul it. Apparently the one in Berlin has been exempt, and I think there may be one in Portsmouth, but
There's a huge one in Portsmouth.
That's the thing that bothers me.
the big ones haven't been hurt.
Yeah, but that's missing the point, I think.
Yeah, I'm just very upset about it because a lot of the little businesses are being hurt. The little the companies that work on trucks, you know, it's not the big businesses. Because as you said, that big one in Portsmouth is still running, it's the little fellas.
Well, I trust Senator Bradley when it comes to energy issues and these types of things. He's put a lot of hours in it, and he has a perspective that, you know, we should recognize it as much of an expert as any elected official could be. And I just hope his side prevails.
Me too. Any other updates? Okay, we have a non-public?
Yes.
Is it going to be very long?
No.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it, Madam Chairman?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion, we go into non-public under RSA 91A, period 3, paragraph 2, parentheses C, matters if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or the agency itself.
Roll call, please, Sharon.
Commissioner Hansel,
Yes.
Commissioner Babson,
Yes.
Commissioner Bevard.
Yes.
Madam Chair, will you be coming out of non-public and conducting any public?
Not that I know of.
I don't believe so.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Before we do that, if I'm not out of order, Representative Comeau has been an advocate for 91A since the day he arrived here with his camera. And I would like to ask him a question.
If he will answer it, you certainly may ask him.
And if he's willing to answer the question. Representative Comeau, and I respect your push for the 91A issue everywhere. But how do you solve a very simple thing like today where we have to talk about propane and we can't do it in public because we're giving somebody else an advantage in bidding? How do you solve that? You're a strong supporter of 91A. I don't see it working in this case in the favor of the voter or the taxpayer.
Thank you for the question.
That gives you time to think.
I had thought that if you had a contract in front of you, that you could have went into a non-meeting, but you don't actually have a contract in front of you. So that's why you couldn't. So probably next time I would have had a contract in front of you, and then you could have went to a non-meeting and discussed the details of it. Because
but as soon as you sit down here, Ed, and start talking about the contract, it becomes a public document and anybody has the right to come in here and say, I want to see that contract.
But I would think that if all three of you had voted together in one block in favor to go into a non-meeting to negotiate, I don't see why anybody would argue with that. The other issue here is... But if you're negotiating a contract like the union contract, that's still, the 91A law they tried to change it again, where they wanted the union negotiations to be in public.
Right.
Because a lot of members wanted to see what they were negotiating for them.
Right.
So, I mean, the law can be changed, but I would think that you would have some, I mean, if somebody brought you into court saying that you illegally went into a non-meeting to negotiate a price for propane, I don't know, the judge may not see that as a violation. I think that may be some type of a gray area, but I'm seeing another issue here. If you're going to meet with these gentlemen tomorrow and you're going to come up with a price, are you going to, in public, discuss that price that you negotiated? And if you do so, how's that going to affect the RFP if you go out for one? So you're going to have to deal with that issue. Make sense?
Very good point.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to tread carefully there because that's gonna totally contaminate the RFP process if you're gonna go for that. I don't think anybody would, it says consideration if you, 91A, I think it's D, it says something about acquisition of real property. I mean, I don't know, is propane real property?
No. Real property is property that doesn't disappear. Like
Real
estate, it's land and it's land, and you know, it's hard to dig it all up and not still have it.
And tomorrow, meeting Ed, is to establish a price for the coming year so that we can now take the next 6 months to go out for a bid, which with a price that won't be disclosed until we get the bids. But I think you being as smart as you are, I think you can see there's a problem with the law in this aspect. There's no reason why we have to negotiate in public when our opponents don't.
Okay, so here's something. Ken pointed this out. Ken pointed this out, and I'd like to have your thoughts on this one as it pertains to the propane. That's their tank, and we use that tank to get their fuel. 91A32D says, consideration of acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property. It's not real property, but it is personal property to them.
The tank.
The tank.
Yep.
So that could have been our door into non-public.
But we're not talking about the tank.
Yeah, we're talking about doing
propane.
business with Easton, which includes the tank.
Now, I would think, again, if a judge, if you had it in your minutes that you all three voted unanimously to go into non-meeting, or you just voted I think you would be covered. I think you're doing due diligence by going into non-public to negotiate a price for propane. This is a huge amount of money. It's not, you know, a few $1,000s here we're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
But I was going to say something during the beginning of while these gentlemen were here, but I didn't know if you were negotiating then too, so I didn't want to mention it.
I didn't either, but you know, I think you just gave us an avenue for tomorrow, because we're gonna meet tomorrow, and the gentlemen are gonna be here. And, yeah.
But we're not gonna have a price tomorrow. Mr. Babson's gonna have a price.
Yeah, but at this point, under 91A32D,
D,
yeah.
we can't. Because we're talking about acquisition, sale, or lease of personal property. The tank. What's in the tank is not.
I would also suggest...
allows us to go into non-public and have that conversation with them.
You also have a county attorney and you have the New Hampshire Municipal Association. I would think that this could be a real simple question. You're paying dues to them. You might as well make them work for their money.
We don't pay dues to the municipal association.
You do not?
Yes,
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
The municipal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was the
And they
New
won't-
Hampshire Association.
and they won't give
As
us
an
any
associate member, it's
information.
$500 a year.
But what are you paying for?
Oh, I didn't know that we were even a members of the.
No, they'll give you a simple one. but
Ken,
they
would you
won't-
do that, please? Would you follow that up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't work.
Because if you lose a really good deal, I think, you know, a judge will slap you with a violation for doing that.
Yeah.
For creating a bad deal.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much for answering my question.
Thank you for asking that question, Commissioner Babson.
Anything else?
Only that Edward and I have, he's here and I'm here, but I think he's the best representative we have in representing me in Ossipee, and I thank him for that.
I don't think he represents you in Ossipee.
Huh?
You do? I thought you were Brookfield.
Brookfield, Wakefield, Ossipee, and Effingham.
Oh.
Well, if you're not representing us, Ed, thank you for showing up every week in Ossipee.
I have to listen to every minute.
All 4.5 hours.
No, but what happens is I listen to this at double the speed, so I can get the meeting done in half the time. The problem is, if you listen to yourselves talking for 3 or 4 hours that fast,
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna lose it.
Well, your district may not include Conway, but I certainly am appreciative that you're a member of the General Court for the state and that you are very much concerned about the people in Conway.
Well, I'm a member of the General Court.
That's right.
Representing the inhabitants of my district.
Right.
I don't represent the state.
Right. You represent the inhabitants of your district as a member of the General Court. And as a member of the General Court, you do things that affect inhabitants of other districts in the state. And being a citizen of another district in the state, I thank you for the service that you have for all the citizens of the state. And that's as good as you're going to get from me.
Okay, do we want to take a few minutes and let him clean up, or? No?
Whatever you guys want to do.
I just have to walk out.
Oh, okay.
Public comment?
Yeah, is there any public comment? All right. Thank you, Ed.